everybody, here we are.
Fucking these new crazy names appearing in there. Fucking Sandra, who's never had an Asian experience. Shit. I've had many Asian experiences.
Oh, I'll bet you.
Yeah. Yeah, living in Korea. Yeah. I was having an Asian experience in Brazil. They got the largest Japanese community outside Japan. A place called Liberdade. Yeah. I had a girlfriend. Her name was Norie Shibutani. She was part Brazilian and part Japanese. She was cool, man. She was real cool. Yeah.
That's just really funny. We were laughing.
Back in the day.
Before we turned the thing on, we were laughing at all the funny new.
Yeah.
All the funny
Never had
screen names. Experience. Sabrina says, "Love the hair, Jenny. Thank you. This is one of the new wigs that I got."
Yeah, I like how it's color changed on video.
Yeah, because in real life it's purple.
Yeah, but it looks blue on the screen.
Because wait, it's this color.
Yeah. Well, that looks blue too.
Well, shit, that doesn't help.
It's the lighting in here.
Kind of more that color. Yeah. I got a green one as well.
Yeah.
Zach says, "Nice wig again, Jen. Thank you. By the way, did you see that post on Facebook I tagged you in? Which one was that? Well, how long ago was it? Because I haven't been on Facebook for the last several hours.
And I heard you guys are talking about somebody who got caught for killing somebody, but we don't know who it is you're talking about."
I saw that Amanda said the name, but it wasn't immediately familiar. I regret to say I don't keep up with a lot of true crime stuff because I'm so busy keeping up with the old true crime stuff that I don't have a lot of time for the new true crime stuff.
Yeah.
Love the rings too, Jenny. Thank you. That's the thing. It's like I wear these all the time, but it's like I always forget to put them on for the show because I don't usually have them on when I'm working. I mean, today it's like not only did I have the presence of mind to do the wig, and I was like, ooh, I even did I painted my nails to match and put jewelry on and everything.
Read what Tila said.
Who the hell even am I anymore? Tom, our deal is complete. Just finished Repo and liked it a lot, but I prefer Phantom of the Paradise and Rocky Horror. LOL. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, they're all strong. They're all good. I mean, I like Grease too. You know? I like that one. I like Xanadu. Fucking. But
that song gets stuck in my head all the time.
But Repo Man, as far as gothic industrial stuff.
Well, not Repo Man. That's a completely different
Repo
movie.
Genetic Opera. as far as Repo Genetic Opera, I for goth industrial, I say that's the one. I liked it. It's got a lot of good songs on it. Blind Mag songs. She's fucking singing and projecting her memories through her eyes like a 3D camera projector. A lot of good shit. Fucking the Grave Robbers song. Some of the stuff that what's his name? Roddy. What's his name? Shit.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Roti's songs. The guy who fucking owns Genco. I think his name was Roti. Fucking what was his name? A lot of his stuff. Paul Servini, I think is his name. What's that guy's name? Or no, little Italian guy. Who played? You've seen Repo Genetic Opera?
Yeah, but it was so long ago. I don't remember. I don't remember who the hell.
Yeah, his songs are good. There's a lot of good songs on it. Joan Jett shows up.
See, I totally forgot about it.
Forgot about that. Yeah. Do you realize that one of Roti's sons was Ogre? The guy, The guy who had Ogre was one of the dudes from Skinny Puppy, and he was wearing a woman's face through the whole thing. Remember, they had some service where you could get your face changed. He had a woman's face. Her skin stretched over his, held on with damn clamps. It was good.
Yeah, that's right. Zach said he had sent me. That's right. He sent me a flyer for a missing girl that went missing from there, and it's like and now I forgot, and I'm just I kind of got fucking slammed with work today.
Paul Sorvino, that's right.
That's Paul Sorvino. That's Mira Sorvino's dad.
Yeah. She's talking about Sweeney Todd. I like Sweeney Todd also. That's another good one I like. They all. Hold on. I wouldn't say that those are better than Repo though. I'd say they're all about on par with one another. They're all pretty good.
Yeah.
I like them all. They're all different. They offer something different. Sweeney Todd, that was a good musical. It kind of had that real creepy Victorian Gothic kind of feel to it, and there were some really good songs in it. I liked it. It was good too.
Yeah. Dom the Bomb says, Jenny, did you finish In Search of Darkness 2? Yes, I did. I've just finished it today and I enjoyed it as much as the first one. I did as well. I really, really liked, I mean, I loved the first one, but the thing that I liked about this one, maybe slightly better, is that I liked that they focused more on a little bit lesser known movies, kind of like second tier type of movies. Because like I said, the first one, you know, you got to cover all the heavy hitters, which is cool. But this one, they kind of had a lot more leeway to explore ones that were maybe not as well known, which I thought was really awesome. So maybe, I don't know, maybe slight edge to this one, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, Little Shop of Horrors is good.
I really
saw that recently. It's good.
They actually talked about that on In Search of Darkness too, as well. I've seen the original, like the black and white one, with a very small part by Jack Nicholson in there. He plays the dentist's victim.
T, if you haven't seen Grease or Xanadu, you got to see those. Those are good too.
I even liked Grease 2.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, it's not as good as Grease 1, but it is.
I don't know why. I just have like some affection for it. Michelle Pfeiffer was in it.
We grew up hearing those songs. Those songs weren't quite as good as the first one, but
no, but they were still good though.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I even had the soundtrack album like on vinyl and everything. I mean, that song Reproduction was pretty fucking funny. And I really, really liked the song that they did at the end. Like, I can't remember what it's called, but like the Seasons song.
I don't remember.
That was a good song.
If you want to really go back, then just go ahead and fucking watch My Fair Lady. That was pretty good too. Remember that?
Yeah.
They take the British fucking gutter snipe chick, they called her a gutter snipe, and then got her ready to go to a damn fucking diplomatic ball, changed her English. Remember that? Was a good one. I liked it. I liked it anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, some musicals I can hang with. I actually quite like a lot of musicals.
Yeah. That's a classic. It must have been 61 maybe.
Man, I don't even
65.
remember.
65.
Well, the movie version, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, like prior to that, it was stage, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I was in Showboat when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Remember that one? Yeah, I was in that one. Oh, I was in Annie as well. I wasn't like one of the main characters. I was kind of like a extra.
I saw Annie live as a little kid at the Schubert Theater in California.
Yeah.
My mom took me to see it. It was good live. Huge auditorium. It had that little girl singing and everything.
Yeah.
It's a Hard Knock Life and everything. I saw it live.
Well, they did it at my high school. Yeah. And interestingly, I went to school with two girls, Kim and Kathy Kershaw. I still remember their names. They were twins. Yeah. And they looked exactly like Annie. They had like the red curly hair, the freckles, everything. And they both looked alike, obviously, because they were twins. So they were in it. So I thought that was brilliant. I was just in the background, like one of the orphan chicks or something that had to like scrub the floor.
Another the newer version of Grease was pretty good too. They did a live television event on one of these cable channels, and when I ordered Grease 1, it came with the new television broadcast and Grease 2 all in the same bundle, and it was like the cost for it was the same price as just getting Grease on its own. So I would give me the deluxe kit.
Yeah, why not?
And the television version was pretty good too. It wasn't really television; it was cable. Yeah. I think it was Fox. Wasn't that the cable?
Yeah,
channel?
remember? Yeah, they
Fox.
did it live. They did Rocky Horror too, but that one wasn't so good. But the Grease one was really good.
Yeah, the Grease one was good. You could probably pay-per-view that. It had
you can, because I watched it again like later on.
Yeah, it's rewatchable and it's live. They walk through fucking sets 3D and they got cameras and people outside and they were performing it live outside at one point, weren't they?
Yeah.
On the street. Yeah. And then they go inside and go into the schools and change scenes. I like how they did it. They had all different stars in there. Beauty School Dropout was done by Belle Bev DeVoe. Remember that fucking
Belle Bev DeVoe.
Yeah, those
number
three guys.
1 in the chart.
And then who else? Who else? There was a lot of other.
For any of you who remember Kids in the Hall.
What's that? Yeah.
I was just making a reference. Oh my God. So somebody's screen name is Man, I Say It Will Be Fun. And their comment is, sorry I'm late, had some closets to pee in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Ooh, that's a deep cut.
See, I was asking for some crazy ass names, and they show up. Fucking the Asian experience one really got me. Sandra, who's never had an Asian experience.
I saw that right before we started and I cracked up.
Sandra used to be the German peanut butter ambassador. That was a good one. It's just fucking funny.
Oh, shit. Marie asks, have you two seen Brawl in Cell Block 99? I have not.
Sandra, are you still spreading peanut butter all over Germany?
She's like wiping it all over all the buildings.
She's spreading it all over herself and shit. Fucking, she's live streaming it. Yeah. Okay.
In Tom's fantasies.
Whatever. Man, it's hormones, you know.
Yeah, see,
hormones.
That's his excuse for everything. Man. That's the only reason why you started taking those, just so you could like do the most fucked up shit you could do.
My mind starts fucking thinking about fucking shit. You know?
About people smearing peanut butter on them.
Just everything. Yeah. Everything's like it was. I've been moving back in time.
He's like, now he can't concentrate on anything anymore because he's so worried. He gets all distracted by, peanut butter smearing on boobies.
Well, you guys could tell by the videos that I posted. When I got drunk last time going out with her last week, I was mostly just getting fucking sucked into her cleavage. I kept taking videos of her cleavage. It was pulling me in. I was like reaching on unbuttoning blouses and shit. But she didn't really care. She was talking to somebody else.
I was like, can you take some pictures of my face or something? I spent a long time on this makeup.
I posted that shit. I got your face in there. I posted that shit, and I got dudes in Brazil, fucking motorcycle friends in Brazil and shit, going, "Oh, mamma mia!" I'm going like, I know, man. I know. I still didn't get any that night. I just fucking came home and fell asleep.
Well, we were drunk.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that the boobs looked bigger that night because I think I explained that the only white bra I have
they're big,
is like super padded.
Yeah, we're gonna get you some more of them.
I have some more of those somewhere.
Yeah, all your bras need to be like that.
It's just, well, no, because there's like not. I mean, there's like this much padding. I didn't realize that because I ordered them online, and I'm like, are you fucking serious? Yeah. I don't need that. And it's like, and the padding is like on the wrong, in the wrong area.
It's fucking great, man.
I don't know.
No, it's not. It's not in the wrong way.
He doesn't care.
It's all in the right area.
He doesn't care if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, comfort has nothing to do with what
he just wants.
She's already big. And then she put that on, and it's just like, oh, fuck.
Well, when we went to the Halloween party, the first thing that Miss Tina said to me, was, "Did you get more?
Yeah.
Did you get like more boobs?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, it's just padded," because I hadn't seen her in a couple of years. Oh my god! Just pepper, salt not included. I had to be more specific with my username, apparently. They're talking about their favorite musicals. Oh, they did A Christmas Story live too. Did they really? Terrible in a fun way. I just heard, I didn't see the Rocky Horror one. I was gonna watch it, and then like everybody I knew like came on like fucking Facebook and Instagram, and it was like, wow, it's terrible.
Maniac says we got to review Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter.
Yeah, I saw that. I meant to mention that as well. But yeah. So what are you talking about musicals? So Grease 2. I was all in the early 80s or mid 80s, I guess. I was super into Grease 2, which I don't know why. But there was just something about it. I was also super into Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the one with the Bee Gees and Alice Cooper and George Burns in it.
Yeah.
For some reason, I really dug that. And also, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a movie called The Pirate Movie. And it was essentially the Pirates of Penzance, but it had like Christy McNichol was in it. Christopher Atkins, right? The dude that was in the Blue Lagoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were in it. And looking back on it, I'm sure it was probably awful, but it's like for some reason I was really into it like back then. I kind of want to see it again, but then I kind of don't because I'd probably be really embarrassed.
Yeah.
Tila said, I love Sgt. Pepper's. Cheesy but good. I know. It's like, it's so weird. It's so weird because that album is weird and like all of the songs are weird. And it's funny that they thought that they could make like a narrative movie, like sort of based on it. Yeah. I don't know. It was just such a strange idea.
Sgt. Pepper?
Yeah. The Robert Stigwood movie that had the Bee Gees in it playing Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts.
I remember when it was new. And they would play it on early cable. It was a cable service we had.
It was on there all the time.
It was a very early cable service we had in California as a prototype. It was called On TV. You know, I bet you Tila remembers On. Just O-N. On TV.
Yep.
And you had to get a box and everything. That was a weird deal. You know, back in the 70s, you're like, you have to get a box. And if somebody comes to your house and puts a box in your house, That was just a weird concept, you know.
Putting a box in your box.
Yeah. Later it changed to HBO, but it used to be called On TV. And Sergeant Pepper's came out. When it came out, MTV was not a big deal. I don't even think it existed.
Well, MTV started in late summer of '81.
Okay, so and I think Sergeant Pepper's might have been a year or two before. You guys can check.
I think it was '78.
Right.
I want to say that came out in '78, like in the theaters.
So there was no music videos that you know.
Not really.
Sergeant Pepper's was kind of like a video tribute album.
Yeah.
All right. That's how it played. It was like a tribute album to the Beatles, but it was performed by several bands.
By other people.
Other bands. You know, it was mostly headlining was the Bee Gees.
Yeah, they played the main band. They were the good guys.
They played the good guys. And then you had Aerosmith and Alice Cooper and a couple of them I don't remember. They played the bad guys.
Yeah.
And there was...
Wasn't Earth, Wind, and Fire was in there too, I think.
Yeah. It was awesome in its day. It's still fun to watch. T says she liked it. I love it. When you watch it, it's just fucking wacky.
It's crazy.
It's the 70s style stuff. You fucking light up a fucking joint, or you drop a hit of acid, or you fucking start getting drunk, and you just watch it and enjoy it. You don't try to overthink it. Xanadu's kind of like that. You don't want to overthink it too much. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, kind of...
It's a show. It's
roller skates.
It's a video album. Okay.
Girls coming out of walls.
Yeah.
You know.
That was one of the things I remembered about as a kid that impressed me of Sergeant Pepper's. This was in a time when I was, you know, maybe, I don't know, fucking 10, 11, 12, 13, probably around that time, I think, when I first saw it. And I was kind of heavily influenced by Heavy Metal Magazine, which was like a fucking sci-fi comic book that was around in eerie and creepy magazines. And just California at that time would have fucking quite a sexual undertone and everything. And so did all of the fucking movies that we were watching and stuff that was... And that particular movie stood out, especially one scene with Mr. Mustard. And he had these two robots that were these shiny black bondage fucking girls.
I thought they were gold.
They were black.
Although I haven't seen it in a long time.
They were black PVC and shiny black plastic and like lit up fucking eyes and features. They were sex bots.
Yeah.
And there was something about that scene, man, that fucking just kind of, as a kid, I was like, God damn. I want to fuck those robots. that was how it was, you know? That's how it was. I'm going to fuck those robots, both of them. And I was probably like 10, 11, 12, you know?
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I think that was kind of like the very fucking beginning of like fetish bondage type fucking tastes and things.
Yeah. I seem to remember the robots, their hair kind of looked like...
wires.
Yeah, it was like wires and coils or something.
Yeah.
And it kind of looked like a Brillo pad a little bit. Yeah.
Well, that all kind of tied in with stuff that you would see in the comic books that I was reading.
Yeah.
Like Eerie, you know, Uncle Eerie and Cousin Creepy magazines. They were weird sci-fi horror, and there was always like sexual undertones to them.
Yeah.
You know? Fucking like the movie that I recommended T saw, it was called Heavy Metal. And the comic book was like that. It had rock and shit and rock background. I think it was still a good movie that holds up to today. Animated movie. And it's heavy sexual undertones and drug references. Lots of it. Which was
pretty controversial back then. So I kind of feel like it was...
Yeah, but it's before cancel culture and any kind of thing of fucking morality. Hollywood was subversive, and they were going to do what they wanted to do. They liked subversive entertainment, and they really subversive. You know, they didn't care if it was, you know, PC or not. They just did it. You know, that's why you had shit like Blue Lagoon and fucking what was that one? Baby? What was that one? Fucking where they were
Pretty Baby.
Pretty Baby, which fucking bordering on fucking underage girls. You know, fucking it's weird shit. You know. Yeah, they did it anyway.
There was kind of, well, I feel like there was kind of a mini boom in sort of underage girl kind of shit going on. Because they did
Lolita themed fucking movies.
Yeah, because, you know, like Kubrick did the Lolita adaptation.
Yeah.
They made another one in the 90s with Jeremy Irons, which I remember thinking was pretty good. It's not as good as the Kubrick one, but I can't remember who played Lolita in that one though.
T says 78 was the release date for Sgt. Pepper.
Oh, I got it right.
Yeah.
And what was I saying? Oh, talking about like musicals. Yeah, I said the pirate movie. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, like I said, Christy McNichol was in it. I'm sure it was terrible because I don't remember. But have you guys seen Hedwig and the Angry Inch? Because that's like a really awesome newer musical. I can't remember when that came out. 90s, 2000s. It's really good.
We have a channel in here. I don't know who this used to be, but now it's called The Crustling.
The Crustling.
The Crustling. That's a masterpiece. Encrustulation. He says now nobody's having sex in California now. Yeah, you should have seen. Well, you were around probably, but back in the 70s and the early 80s, it was fucking wild. Now that fucking vibe is actually in Florida. I got pictures to prove.
He's got pictures to prove.
Just pepper, salt not included. That's another crazy one on there. I don't know who you guys used to be. You might want to tell me who the Crustling and Just Pepper is. Anyway, Heavy Metal is legit awesome. It was a good movie. It says it was so awesome that South Park parodied it. Yeah.
Yeah, Heavy Metal was on Showtime the other night. Cartoon Work reminded me of that Aeon Flux on MTV. Man, you guys remember Liquid Television?
Yeah. And Aeon Flux, the original one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of like I used to one of my favorite things on there on Liquid Television, which you didn't know, it was like MTV used to show it like late at night. It was
you got the thing.
Yeah. God, I'm trying to talk.
I'm sorry, man. I smell that smoke. I haven't had one of these since the last show.
I was trying to now I forgot what I was saying.
Talking about Aeon Flux and fucking.
Oh, like okay, so Liquid Television.
Let me get the light.
MTV used to show it on Sunday nights, I think, before 120 minutes, and it was like clips of kind of underground animation. So it was kind of like there'd be like 5 minutes of this and 2 minutes of this and other things, and it wasn't entirely animation because one of my favorite things on there was Art School Girls of Doom, which I thought was really funny, which was sort of live action, but it had like some animation kind of shit in it too. But there was some good shit on there.
Yeah. What's funny is that I was going to make an MTV tribute shirt with the original MTV logo, the white one on a black shirt, like old boy from Predator 1 was wearing in Predator 1. Fucking what was the name of the fucking shit, man.
I really half the show is just Tom going like,
what's that
who's that?
What's that dude? Huh? What now?
What?
Again, you know who I'm talking about. Jesse the Body. I was going to make that shirt. But then I started thinking about it. I said, man, people won't get the reference.
No, of course not.
They won't get the reference. They're going to think of today's version of MTV. Today's MTV is fucking lame. So I'm not gonna wear that.
Well, it's not music videos anymore.
It's not.
Well, that's what I mean. It'd be one thing if MTV was gone, if it had like gone out of business, like while it was still playing music videos, but that didn't happen.
That first 15, 20 years of MTV was 15 years, I guess, wasn't it? The first 15 years was really good.
I can't remember. Okay, so
started to go downhill in the late 90s.
Well, yeah, in the 90s they started doing. They did The Real World, which was kind of like the first TV reality show, which was actually pretty good. I watched that.
That was the end of MTV,
but
though.
Then after that, like they were like, "Hey, these are much cheaper to make,"
and they made more money.
And kind of reality TV was kind of coming into like everybody was watching that shit, so they're like, "Okay, well, as far as I know, MTV is probably all reality shows now."
I think it's all preachy bullshit now.
I think it's all reality shows. I mean, for a long time they had something like 16 and Pregnant, that kind of stuff. That was the last time I saw it. That's all that was on there. It was like Jerry Springer type shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
but it's funny because like our generation growing up, it wasn't though. It was like a video radio station, and it had all these fucking cool British new wave bands on it when it first opened. That was like that for many years. And then they started rotating through though. It had, as people started to make music videos, they started to have like at certain times you'd have rock, metal, and then you'd have new wave and top 40, and I think you'd have like maybe like R&B or something, and then you'd have whole schedules with specials, and it got more and more complicated as it went on. But I think for me and Jenny, growing up during the formative years of MTV for us was when it was still new, when it was like in its first year or maybe like year 4 or 5, when it was still kind of primitive. It was better. It's a lot better because you never really could tell what you were going to see. Just out of the blue, a new video would appear. Like, who are these guys? And it was usually something that was pretty good. It was like kind of homemade, you know. Now you got YouTube for that, which watching some of these new kind of underground YouTube music videos that local bands make, and I'll be like, you know, I kind of miss MTV in that first few years of it, but I said, but you know, these are actually on par or better than the music videos we had in very early MTV.
Yeah, I mean, until MTV really took a foothold in the culture, you know, I don't like record companies didn't want to pay for you to make a video because they're like, what the fuck are you going to do with that? But like once MTV got big, then they would.
Yeah, then it became $1 million affairs. And Michael Jackson came out with
and particularly after like, you know, Duran and people like that spent like shit tons of money on their videos and then got like hugely famous.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, before that, it was just like real DIY kind of shit.
Yeah.
And, you know, back then you couldn't do DIY shit that looked all that good.
No.
I feel like, well, back in the day, like MTV used to have shows in that they would have like a block of it. It's like they had Headbangers Ball, which was all heavy metal. They had 120 Minutes, which was all alternative.
That was later.
They had shit like that. But yeah, that was a little bit later. And then I remember like in the late 80s, early to mid 90s.
Yeah.
They did, before 120 Minutes, they started showing the young ones, you know, so they'd show like some comedy. They'd show like the young ones in the comic strip, like from UK, and then they would show Liquid Television. So they kind of tried to do like some weird, but they kind of kept it weird, you know what I mean? They didn't really have any reality shows until they did The Real World. And
for me, when I think of the old MTV, I'm thinking of like Flock of Seagulls with like the photograph fucking video and, you know, maybe...
Our love's in jeopardy.
Yeah. They just fucking weird shit.
With all the monsters. I used to love that video when I was a kid because it had monsters in it.
Yeah.
Even when I was a kid, I was just like, monsters, yay! I was into that shit. All the videos that were scary. And I remember the video for White Wedding. And I used to love that part where he put the ring on her finger and like all the blood came out.
All those fucking Hall & Oates videos. She's a man eater. Remember that shit? Whoa, here she comes.
It was all like noir and shit. Well, like 80s noir.
Yeah, I remember that shit.
Oh my God, so good.
Hall & Oates.
I didn't like them at the time, but I think I
like them in retrospect.
I think in retrospect, I think I like them a little bit better.
No, they overplayed it so much that you fucking were like, man, fucking stop playing that shit.
Where's the good shit? Yeah, I kept waiting for like the Psychedelic Furs or something to come on.
Yeah. I was listening at that time. I was listening to a radio station out in LA called KROQ, K-Rock, and that ended up being like a huge radio station later on. But
even I heard of that.
Yeah, in the early '80s though, it was like that's where you heard the first new wave.
Yeah,
like you would hear fucking Billy Idol's first early stuff, you know, would come out. Duran, fucking off the first album, like Planet Earth, you know, and Night Boat. They're playing that.
I love the Night Boat video. It's so creepy.
Adamant, they'd play fucking Desperate but Not Serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's pretty cutting edge for fucking mainstream radio broadcast. You know, like they wouldn't play that in Mississippi at that time. They're like, what the fuck is that?
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to think
only LA.
I mean,
maybe New York.
I mean, I grew up in New York and stuff like that had that, but I grew up in Daytona Beach, Florida. The only radio stations that we had were like country stations or like old rock stations. So they played The Doors, they played like the Allman Brothers, shit like that. Nobody played new wave on the radio.
Yeah, well,
in the early 80s.
Internet democratized everything. So did cable TV. Really, to be honest, cable TV changed everything.
Yeah.
With cable TV, you had MTV, or at least you got something like Night Tracks, or they had a couple of other little ripoffs in the South where kids in the Deep South instantly started listening to shit like Prince.
Yeah.
You know, Prince and Duran.
Well, yeah, as soon as it came on, we're like, yep, that's for us.
They're playing the Violent Femmes, and there was your redneck, your redneck fucking, what do you call it? Your redneck reproduction system, okay, started to break down because the shit that was local and normal in the Deep South was no longer cool. You were now exposed to like a broader range of things. So you're like, man, this shit ain't cool with it, you know, bluegrass music and crap like that, and fucking, you know,
and Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard was not a Southern product. That was Hollywood.
But all my relatives loved it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm just laughing because Tila is talking about Weird Al's spoof song, I Lost on Jeopardy. You know what? I had that album. I actually had a couple of Weird Al's albums. I had Dare to Be Stupid, and whatever was the one before that. You know what? A lot of people, like, his parody songs are funny, but a lot of people don't realize that he did some original songs too, and they are hilarious. Probably my favorite one is called Nature Trail to Hell, and it's like a horror movie trailer.
All right, T, you being a California girl, I feel like I'm broadcasting to T, but she's a California girl. There was the first time I heard Weird Al was on a California radio program. I don't know if it played nationwide. I think it was just Southern California, maybe just California. It was a show called Dr. Dementos.
Oh, everybody's heard of Dr. Demento.
Okay.
Yes.
Was that just a California thing?
I don't think so, because unless it was, it might have been picked up by other, stations later.
I think it was a California thing.
I mean, I heard of him way back then.
And he introduced the world, I think, to Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah.
And then he would just play all kinds of weird. He was a DJ who would play all kinds of weird fucking songs.
Yeah, got some Barnes and Barnes on there. Fish heads.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Barnes and Barnes and all that crap. And fucking and funny Frank Zappa songs.
Yeah.
And stuff. And and for Halloween he'd have a theme. It was just a little radio show.
Yeah, Esther says Dr. Demento was on in Philadelphia. Yeah, so I think it was like nationwide, because I had heard of him.
Yeah, I didn't know where he was broadcasting from. I guess he was kind of like Art Bell, where he broadcast from his local area, and then the other stations would pick it up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know where he was broadcasting from. For all I know, it might have been Philadelphia. But he was fucking huge in Southern California. Everybody listened to him, especially if you were a kid. You can listen to Dr. Demento.
Yeah, because he played like crazy shit.
Yeah. And he would also like play, I think, fucking like little radio skits or some little recorded.
I think so, although it's been a long time.
It's been a long time since I heard it.
DJ Maniac said Night Flight predated MTV by about 6 months, and it was essentially YouTube before YouTube was even a concept. I remember seeing Night Flight on, I want to say it was the USA Network, but I could be remembering that wrong.
I think it was either USA or TBS.
Oh yeah, maybe it was TBS.
Right, I remember.
I remember being at my grandpa's house when I was a kid.
The South watched that a lot too.
Yeah. I remember that. They showed videos. Gramthars Hammer says Marilyn Rice Cub was in the Weezer video "The Good Life." Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Holy crap! I don't even remember. I don't remember. I like Weezer, but I haven't seen a lot of their videos.
Mary Lynn was also friend with Fiona Apple.
Oh, really?
She was friends with Fiona Apple, and then another one. What's her name? Something or other Crow. Sheryl Crow. She was friends with Sheryl Crow and Fiona Apple.
For a long time, I thought those two chicks were the same chick.
Yeah, they're not.
But they're not. Silly me.
Yeah.
Fourth Throwdown says, in the UK,
I post videos of Jenny at the club, and Mary Lynn fucking thumbs them up. I've videoed one of fucking Jenny's boobs. I fucking did one of Jenny's boobs, and she thumbed them up.
The left one or the right one? She's like,
it's both of them. Yeah.
She's like, I'll thumb up any boobs.
She thumbed them up. She knows me. She knows me. She knows how I am.
Yeah, well. Fourth Throwdown says, in the UK, my first experience of MTV was Music Box that aired during the night. The first video I ever saw on it was Listen Like Thieves by NXS. I remember that song. You know what's weird? I'm not a huge NXS fan. I like a grand total of two NXS songs, which are Don't Change. I love that song. And I can't remember what the other one is, but I know there's one more. Maybe somebody will remind me. I think what it is that when I was in high school and, you know, I'm super into fucking the Smiths and the Cure and Depeche Mode and Alien Sex Fiend and Bauhaus and shit like that. I had a friend who was really, really into NXS. I mean, really. And I didn't have a car and she did. So I used to drive around with her all the time. And she played that fucking NXS tape. Not Kick, the one that came out before that. And she just played it on fucking constant loop. And I got so sick of it that I thought I was going to kill myself. So I think that's probably why. So now every time I'm at iBar and they play NXS, I'm like, ah! And I have to go out to the front bar so I can chill out. Thank you, David. Lots of compliments on the shirt. Crustle levels of BA.
Yeah, speaking of shirts, got new ones coming, but I'm out of emulsion. So I had to order
I ordered a quart of emulsion. It should be here in a couple of days.
Yeah, and then once that's done, I'm going to start I'm making another Crustle shirt. It's that same Pliskin logo, but it's about 3 times that size. It'll cover a whole shirt. That way, if I ever get like an extra fucking large, I can put a big image in it that'll fucking even it out. But that big image would be good even on a small or a medium t-shirt, though. It would look really cool. I was looking at it and I was going, man, you know, on an OD green t-shirt with that Pliskin image done in black ink, that would look really good.
Yeah, probably would. We should probably expect. I thought we bought some black ink a while back.
And then got a couple more. Got another 13 o'clock shirt that looks like a Ouija board. It looks really cool. A new logo. It's kind of like this, but it's got lines. The other one is what's the other one? It's do you remember?
No.
She doesn't remember either. There's a couple of them.
Sorry, I was reading some. Just yeah. Pepper said you should make one that says "Every day I'm crustling."
Yeah.
I would totally read that. I would totally wear that.
Welcome to the Crustle Sphere.
Yeah, welcome to the Crustle Sphere. Seth says my friend used to do drugs with Michael Hutchence in Melbourne. He told me he didn't come across so sexy back then. He wore his zebra print suit for days and smelled. Good voice though, huh? I still can't remember. I still okay, so Dermot said Need You Tonight. Yeah, that's an okay song, but that wasn't the one I was thinking of. Don't Change is one that I really like that song. And then there's one, I remember what it is. It's The One Thing. The video where that big long table and they're all eating like pomegranates or whatever.
Look what Tila said.
With the cats crawling all over the table.
Make a pair of boxer shorts that says growth on it. Yeah.
That's just across the front.
Growth.
Oh my god. That would be.
You guys remember all these fucking Tomisms and shit.
Tom doesn't remember because he's usually like drunker. It just comes out of his.
Comes out of the subconscious.
Out of his rectal cavity.
You always got to talk about shit like that. I'll tell you, these women secretly want to peg a motherfucker. They just do.
I don't make it. It's not a secret.
It's not a secret. Fuck. It's over there laughing like a damn wicked witch and shit.
I know. That's my favorite thing. That's my favorite thing.
It comes from the collective unconscious.
Just the collective unconscious?
Yes.
Tomisms are the bomb, says Tila.
Yeah.
I do love the everyday I'm crustling kind of. That's pretty funny.
I don't know if I want to disturb the Crustle Sphere, though. You see.
What do you think might happen?
I don't know. I'm superstitious. Superstitious about Crustle. Sometimes it grips me, and maybe I should not transgress across
against the Crustle.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like thou shalt not take the Crustle in vain. That type of deal. You know what I mean? It's like you might break the Crustle magic. Crustle has been confirmed to me, you know, on several times. Hold on. You know what?
What?
I got to put a fucking hat on. I reached level 1.
Oh, uh-oh.
Level 1.
It's level
1. Green combat hat. Okay, level 1. All right. Because Crustle was the first man to observe and report the fucking Phoenix Lights.
Sure.
Then I believe in the Phoenix Lights, extra testicles, and extraterrestrials.
With extra testicles, maybe
extra
we don't
testicles.
know. Not judging.
And I know that Russell is the chosen one. Russell's the chosen one. Yeah.
Fourth row down says DEFCON 3. Well, okay, so how many hats do you have? So you have hatless.
I got like 4 hats.
And then you have 4 hats.
Yeah.
So
there's a certain order to them.
That's what I mean. So is it DEFCON? Wait, so is it DEFCON 4 or DEFCON 3? Because it goes down, right?
DEFCON 1 is fucking is that fucking nuclear conflict is imminent. You know what I mean? That
what
fucking,
is this, man? My shit keeps going out. Yeah, that's what I thought. It goes down, right?
Yeah, it goes down.
I saw War Games in the 80s. I know what I'm talking
4,
about.
I think, is the normal state.
I thought it was 5.
Maybe 5. None of that shit matters though. I don't think that's only like NORAD, and I'm not sure NORAD still exists. It's going to be a new agency, new part of the Air Force that does that. Probably that Space Force, because all that nuclear stuff now is all space-borne. None of it has to do with ground-based radar.
Radar.
Yeah.
David June says
radar.
Have you guys got Tusk yet? We have not. I've been meaning to send a copy.
Watch it,
we don't. We've seen it, but we haven't. We don't have a copy though.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, I kind of. It's so weird.
It's just disturbing as hell. That's the kind of shit that does kind of freak me out. Most horror movies don't, but those weird twisted shit like Tusk. Yeah, that was like fuck. That's some crazy shit.
Well, especially like the end of that. Like if you really think about the implications of how that ended, I'm like, wow, that's fucked up.
He was turned into a walrus.
Like it's funny, but really not all that funny. It's not that funny if you think about it.
Oh, fucking David said consider it set.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
That's
much.
awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
We saw it on
We watched a lot
Netflix
of stuff
or something.
I'm at level 1 now, so I can talk about it. We got a review coming up on Elvis and Nixon. Or is it Nixon and Elvis? I think it's Elvis and Nixon.
Well, Elvis has to go first.
Elvis goes first. Yeah, the king comes before the president.
Yeah, we watched that. Yeah, we watched it last night. Yeah. We actually saw it in the theater when it came out.
Yeah, I liked it. It's one of those kind of strange but true movies. Elvis did weasel his way into the Oval Office to see President Nixon for a secret meeting. And
well, it's not a secret because everybody knows.
Everybody knows about it now, but Elvis thought it was a secret. Yeah. Elvis believed it was a secret mission, and it happened. And this isn't some bullshit that they pulled out of their ass. You know what I mean? This really did happen. There's pictures to prove it, and there's records that recorded it. And Elvis's friends contributed to this movie, so it's not something they made up.
Yeah, Jerry Schilling was like the producer on this.
Yeah, it's evidently. Well, first off, it matches up with everything that I had read and legends that I had heard as being young, growing up, at least part of the time in Mississippi. Okay, Elvis is legendary in Mississippi, and it wasn't something my generation was really into. It was something that like your parents were into. But they kind of passed it down to us, these weird stories about him. I mean, shit that he was on par with Jesus, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. That Elvis can make it rain. And I only heard these other guys my age, fucking 10, 11, 12, saying this shit. But I was, grew up part of the time in California, and I'm coming to Mississippi, and it's 2 totally different worlds. And they're telling me that Elvis could make it rain from the back of a convertible. And I'm going, what the fuck? And they were saying, yeah, it was like Jesus. And I'm like, it's like Jesus? And I'm looking on the front of my fucking boy David Key's mantle. He's the one that wrote that book about Free State of Jones. I'm looking at his fucking mantle. And his dad's got a fucking painting of Jesus over the mantle. All right? Over the fireplace. But on the mantle, there's Elvis stuff. So it kind of made this. I was able to perceive that there was in the minds of Southerners, at least of that generation, that there wasn't much difference between Elvis and Jesus. It was about the same.
Yeah.
Because, Elvis was singing gospel music at that time. So there was a religious connotation to Elvis. And a lot of the mythos that you heard and these stories about Elvis sounded false to me as a kid. Sounded like something they made up. But as I got older, he ended up being confirmed. That he did visit the president.
He can't make it rain though, that we know of.
Well, okay, later on, it was confirmed that his friends said he was in the Cadillac and the convertible. Yeah, in driving a convertible, and he said something about the rain, and he made it rain, and it rained. And then Elvis said, "See, I can make it rain." See, that was I wasn't there, but that was a myth or a legend.
Well, I kind of feel like that's kind of confirmation bias a little bit going on there, because how many times you go around going, "Man, I wish it would rain," and it doesn't rain, but you forget all those times. You only remember the one time that you said you wished it would, and then
right. This is folk ideology. Let me have that lighter again. Here. This is all folk legend and shit. Which, me being into religious mythicism and everything now, I can look back and fucking see that a lot of what I was being told and a lot of what I experienced was mythicism. Okay? And religions are mythic. All of them. And probably not based in anything that actually happened. It's based on things that people were saying. And there's always a reason why they're saying it. And then they write it down. And they write it down in a way to really empower priests, really. That's what basically what religions are. It's a way of getting power and control. Not necessarily for a bad reason, just like a form of government. Anyway, as it went on, fucking Elvis died. And there were a lot of people in the South that just couldn't accept that.
Yeah, clearly.
So, Elvis sightings. People fucking swearing up and down that he did not die. And then you got Orion shows up, who sounds exactly like Elvis. And
kind of looks like him, so
kind of. He's from around that same area. And so it's the same kind of culture. And he was a little bit younger than Elvis, I think.
Yeah, well, maybe his soul just transferred.
Yeah, well, people were trying to rationalize it. They're trying to rationalize it. Well, maybe he's somehow channeling the spirit of Elvis.
Sure.
Because...
Yeah, I mean, you can convince yourself to believe anything if you want to bad enough.
Well, it all makes sense if you understand deep South culture of Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, northern parts of Louisiana. Okay. Even probably Panhandle, Florida.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Okay.
It's all the same.
It's about the same culture. Okay. Genetically, you're talking about the same people, pretty much, when you're talking about the white people, at least. Their religion, the Southern Baptists, is a self-styled religion. It's basically, if you actually analyze it, it's an exorcism cult. It's a type of Christianity that is about spirits, exorcisms, and channeling things, like the Spirit of the Lord and casting out demons. That's exorcism. Okay. So it kind of makes sense that people with a Southern Baptist background might think that somebody could channel a spirit of somebody.
Sure.
So that's what they're talking about. Even though they probably consciously aren't saying this, in the recesses of their minds, because of the kind of religious traditions they have, they're open to the possibility that something like this could happen. It's really fanboyism, though.
Yeah.
That's what it really was.
Yeah.
But they're trying to rationalize it to themselves. It's because as soon as he took that mask off, Orion, and he goes, "No, that is not Elvis," then the spell was broken.
He did sound like him, though.
He sounded just like him. They wanted to hold out the belief. They wanted the fantasy that Elvis had come back.
Yeah, I feel like people in general, maybe not so much nowadays, but I feel like people in general are a lot more comfortable with fantasy than they are with reality.
Yeah. Well, we saw the movie Elvis and Nixon, and it's a good explanation of who this dude is. I was always kind of fascinated with him, just kind of on the level of who he was as a man, not so much his music. I mean, I really wasn't too much into his music. It was gospel, and it sounds good, but not really my thing, It was just kind of like the mythology around him, I thought was very interesting, And this, you can learn a lot from him through this movie. And the movie is only a small part of his life, but it gives up a lot of his ideology, what he was thinking. he wants to go meet the president to get the powers of a special agent at large to fight a drug epidemic, to save the Union from communist, what do you call it? Communist subversion.
Yeah.
And to save it basically from like collapse and race war. And he told Nixon that
he didn't like those damn hippies.
He didn't like the hippies, and he put a lot of it on the Beatles. You got to fucking see.
He kind of blames the Beatles.
Kind of blames the Beatles, that the Beatles did it. All right. And he wants this badge. He shows up to the White House with him and his buddies, armed to the teeth, fucking pimped out, fucking 1911 45s. He goes to see the president, fucking armed.
Well, I don't think it occurred to him that he couldn't or shouldn't.
Well, you see, he explained it to them, fucking Secret Service was like, we asked you if you had any fucking illegal weapons on. He goes, well, yeah, these aren't illegal. I legally possess these. I'm a sheriff's deputy. Because they were all deputized by the sheriff over in Tennessee where they lived. They all had law enforcement credentials. Which sounds kind of crazy. But you got to remember that fucking Elvis was fucking a staff sergeant in the army in a fucking armored unit. And was fucking competent with weapons. He was a trained soldier.
He was also the most famous person.
Almost famous person in the world.
Pretty much in the world.
Yeah. And all of his boys were basically, were all trained. So they were sheriffs and fucking cops and soldiers. It's just when you look at them, you really wouldn't think that they were, because they were just pimped out in these fucking southern gothic fucking mafia looking fucking 70s outfits, you know, just with fucking white leather holsters and gold-plated 45s and fucking silver bullets and shit.
Yeah, everything.
They were just everything pimped out.
Yeah, the pistol that he gave to Nixon. He gave it. It was like it had silver bullets with it. I was like, in case he needs to kill any werewolf.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, and you see, they were both military men. So he gave Nixon a commemorative model 1911 45 auto that had been inscribed with President Nixon's name, the names of his units, and the time in which he served, and the theater in which he served. I think it was in Korea, wasn't it? I think it was Korea.
I can't remember.
And so he knew what campaigns Nixon was in. So they, just two military guys rubbing each other's rhubarb, you know what I mean? Fucking
pretty much.
Yeah, but that's exactly the kind of thing a military dude would give another military man. You know, something to commemorate his military service. So Elvis knew exactly, and all kinds of weird shit happens in this movie. You got to fucking see it.
The whole movie is just about them setting up this meeting and then the meeting happening. But it's like, it's really, really funny.
It's funny.
Like in a dry kind of way, it's really funny.
Because it's real. This really did happen.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they did. They didn't like oversell it or anything.
And this really did happen, and it sounds so bizarre and it's so crazy. You would think that this didn't happen. No, it did happen. He just walked up to the front gates of the White House and fucking told them to give the president this letter. I'll wait for him. I'm going to go in there and talk to him. That's what it was like.
Thank you, Mango.
Like you can just walk in and fucking talk to the president.
Well, Elvis can.
And he did.
Well, now they did dick him around a little bit because he did kind of go up. So I want to say too that the movie, because someone asked, or Victor asked, is called Elvis and Nixon. It came out a few years ago. I remember we saw it in the theater, and then you were talking about it the other day, so you ordered a copy. Michael Shannon plays Elvis. Yeah, he's great. Kevin Spacey plays Nixon. Johnny Knoxville is in it, and I can't remember the name of the guy that plays Jerry Schilling, but Jerry Schilling was the guy that was like the producer on it. So it's from his recollections or from his story or whatever.
And that weird creepy motherfucker, that little boy.
Yeah, I said Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, I don't like Kevin Spacey. All right, I think that dude's a fucking creep.
He's a creep, but he's a good actor.
Yeah, but he knocks Nixon out of the fucking park. He does this role. I would never trust a son of mine, or I would never trust him around any children of mine. That motherfucker has been all kinds of allegations are behind fucking. I guess I don't want to get in trouble.
Esther, thank you, Esther.
Yeah, read off their super chats, Jenny.
Mango said Elvis will always live. So
yeah.
Thank you, Mango. Esther says Tom's enthusiasm. That's for your enthusiasm.
Yeah. Well, I'm giving you guys a heads up so you guys can stream it. It's only a couple bucks. Elvis and Nixon, and we're gonna do the review for it, and it'll
we'll probably do it Sunday, I think, because we just watched it last night, and I liked it just as much as we saw it in the theater.
It was better the second time. I was able to pick up a lot more from.
Well, yeah, you catch a lot more from it. Like I said, and it's not even a big. It's basically just based around this one. I mean, pretty much the first 3/4 of the movie is them trying to set up the meeting, and then like the meeting happening.
There's a lot of mysterious stuff in it. Too, me as a novice Elvis historian. Okay.
Is that what we are today?
Yes,
all right.
I'm a novice Elvis historian. Did Elvis really believe this bullshit that he was going to become a secret agent and go undercover and defeat
think he did. You know what's crazy?
Or did he just want that fucking badge? Because he had a bunch of other badges, and the whole movie starts with him getting pissed off over what he saw on television in his command center, in the Elvis Command Center, which he had at Graceland. There's a bunch of TVs on a bar.
Well, you got all the money in the world.
Elvis Command.
As well.
He was watching on TV, and he shot the television because he got sick of seeing that shit. And then he called his buddies, and he was looking kind of depressed, and he's like, I'm going to get another badge.
I kind of feel like...
I'm going to get another badge.
Let me comment, because Seth just said, Jenny, in the paper the other day it had an article about Somerton Man, his body's being exhumed. I heard about that. I didn't see it in the paper. I actually saw it on Brain Scratch. Like, he was talking about that, how they are going to like exhume his body, and hopefully they can find out who that dude is, maybe. And they've done a new what do you call it? Like an artistic rendering of him as well, which is a lot better than the first one. But yeah, we were talking about last night, and I was kind of like, you know what? The thing about Elvis, and I guess anybody that's as famous as that, as rich and famous as that, and was as rich and famous for as long as he was, Elvis lived in a bubble.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that really comes across in this movie, because he really didn't, he did a lot of stuff just because it didn't occur to him that he couldn't. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because he just, the way he lived, everything was kind of open to him. Everything was done for him. Everything was so, you know, he just like strolls into like an airport and wants to get on a plane.
With a gun.
With guns. It's like he doesn't have a driver's license. Yeah. Like, you know, they ask him for ID. He shows them a badge. It's like he doesn't have any identification. Right. And it's like it doesn't occur to him that he would need anything like that, like a normal mortal would. Mm-hmm. So all of this stuff about, I'm sure he just thought that he could waltz up to the White House and just like waltz into, you know, the Oval Office and talk to the president.
Yeah.
And then it would be fine.
Yeah. Well, part of that is Southern culture and his status in Southern culture at that time. All right. I can maybe explain some of that later. But another thing is that you point out is that not only did he think that he could just walk in to the Oval Office, he pretty much thought he could walk into the Oval Office and treat the president as an equal.
Yeah, which is one of the funniest.
Which is what he did.
Well, and he did.
Yeah.
He got away with it.
Yeah.
Because, like, they have this very, very funny scene, like, where the, like, one guy who's played by Colin Hanks, Tom Hanks' son, and he's kind of one of the advisors or whatever, and he's telling him, like, all these rules. It's like, you know, you have to come in the door, and like, you can't sit down until he says, and don't eat his M&Ms, and don't drink his Dr. Pepper, and all this other kind of shit. And then Elvis comes in and just does everything he's not supposed to.
He made sure.
But
break every one of those rules.
But he's not doing it out of malice, though. No. It's just he's just doing it because
he's doing it. He was doing it to show the president that he was an equal.
Yeah, that he sees himself as the same
equal,
as them.
And that he doesn't have to do those rules. He's going to break those rules on purpose to show him that he's strong enough to do that. So therefore, you should recognize me. I recognize you.
That's exactly
And that gets back to what I was talking about the old-fashioned culture of the Deep South. My dad was like this. I know all about it. My granddad evidently was even worse. I never met him. He died before. It is an honor-based society, not a legalistic society. They don't care about laws or rules. Everything is about honor and truth. You know what I mean? Handshake, eye contact. You're a man. I'm a man. We're gonna. You know what I mean? Those are society's rules, but they're not our rules. We're talking man to man. That is what he's talking about. And dudes like that don't go very far away from home. They're in an environment where that flies. Everybody's like that there.
Well, yeah, they're a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah, exactly. In Elvis's case, when he left the South, he was so famous he could retain that mentality without having to conform to the broader social norms. So he never evolved outside of basically a tribal mentality. I know exactly where he's coming from. The idea, of course, he can get onto a plane with a gun. He's Elvis. He's honorable. Everybody knows him. Everybody knows he's a good guy.
And the thing about
he's
Elvis,
an authority figure.
And he was, and he was a good guy. He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything terrible to anybody, really. So, and the fact that he was so famous, like, allowed him to get away with it, which just reinforced the idea that he could just do whatever he wanted because he was Elvis.
But if he wasn't famous, he would have tried that same shit and got in trouble for it. And ended up in jail.
I mean, if it was anyone other than Elvis, no one would let you get away with that.
Right.
It was only because he was Elvis. That's why he got away with it.
Yeah.
That's why.
That's what he's doing. And I think he thought reality was like that for everybody.
I think he genuinely did think that. But, because like I said, he didn't really, I mean, he lived somewhat of a normal life. Maybe more than, because a couple people in the comments brought up Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, I think, is like an even worse case because Michael Jackson was famous from when he was little. So I don't really think he had much of a normal life at all.
Yeah.
I think Elvis did. He was in the military and shit like that. I mean, he was famous by then too, but I think he had a little bit more of a normal life than Michael Jackson did. But as I said, anybody with that much money, anybody with that much fame, you're recognized by everybody wherever you go. You just can't live like a normal person. It's impossible.
He was Southern. He was a Southern man of his time and his class. He came from poor sharecroppers. He was a Southern Republican. He was white Dixiecrats couldn't stand him because he, quote, had Negro ways, end quote. Where he came from, white Democrats or Dixiecrats, they were Klan adjacent or Klan members. There's a movie called Free State of Jones, and my family's from Jones County will explain all that. So he sees himself as a Republican in the aspect of the Union, a Unionist, not a Confederate, but a Unionist, that everybody is supposed to be together. It's a civic nationalism. That's not ethno-nationalism. The Dixiecrats were ethno-nationalists. They're very different interpretation of nationalism. He was self-made. He was intelligent, very, very charming. He was a king in many, many ways, just on the backs of him having a good heart and charisma. But he was still very kind of simple. They mentioned it in the movie. He had a child's handwriting. Okay.
Yeah.
He could write eloquent words and stuff, but his handwriting was just really shitty. He wasn't like that. He was an orator. All right. But he was kind of a disciplinarian also with a military type background and very traditional, conservative. The closest person to him in generation and character and time probably would have been James Brown.
That's what I was just going to say.
James Brown was exactly like that from the same fucking... James Brown, he didn't stay in the Southern Republican vein all the time because he supported JFK. He would jump over to the Democrat side if he liked that candidate. But he was of the same mindset. In the South, the Democrats were Klan in that era. Republicans were Unionist. They were the party of Lincoln. That's the way they saw things. But Elvis and James Brown got along. They were real similar. When Elvis died, they say James Brown got invited to Graceland and he needed time along with the casket when it was up, and they say he fucking lost it. I think part of it is because Elvis died young. I mean,
yeah,
he was only 40-something.
Yeah,
and
he was younger than I am now.
Yeah, he didn't look young when he died. He had drug abuse problems that he couldn't face up, And I think there was a lot. I think he also he hit male menopause too. I think was part of it. And but Brown lost it, and they were evidently fucking. They didn't hang out all the time because they had busy schedules a lot, but they had a lot in common. And they were gonna make albums together or songs and shit together, singles and things. They never got around to it though. But Elvis was, when he died, he was planning on making a recording studio, and he was going to have a lot of people from the gospel and old school rock and roll come in and record whole albums, because he wanted a way to culturally he thought respond to the British new wave in terms of, you know what I mean, like the Rolling Stones and
well, the Beatles and everyone that came in there.
They were taking over. So Elvis and a lot of other guys wanted to have like a solid American response to all that. And they were all trying to plan on building a recording studio. And in those days, a recording studio was millions of dollars because the technology was expensive.
Yeah. Dermot says Michael Jackson didn't even pay his staff half the time because he had no concept of real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, because for him, like, the money was always there, right? So he didn't have to think about it, and other people did shit for him. So, and I think the same thing applied to Elvis to a lesser extent.
Yeah.
Because if your whole entire life, or your whole entire adult life, everything is just done for you, like everybody is going before you, like, paving the way, like making things easier for you, but you don't realize that because you don't see other people's labor, like all the shit they have, like all the strings they have to pull, like to get it all together, you know what I mean? I feel like that was something that this movie really did well, was that, you know, honestly, he wanted to go see the president, and at first, like, Nixon was like, fuck it, I don't want to do that. Because he wasn't into, he's like, I'm not meeting some rock and roll guy. It's like, what the fuck? It's this, you know. So, but all these, like, all the shit that went kind of on behind the scenes that, like, his friends were doing. Yeah. And I don't think Elvis was entirely aware of how much, you know, his fame, how much his friends working behind the scenes, like, made that happen. You know what I'm saying?
Dom the Bomb asked, you know, how did Elvis's health get so bad? There had been whole books written about that. What happened to Elvis? Yeah, I think it was I have a theory behind it. Some people have come up, well, he had this weird disease, and there's even a name for the damn disease. He felt bad.
Which he might have.
He may have had fibromyalgia. Or, no, I think what happened was if I remember correctly, he had an injury. He fell and hurt a leg, and during the healing process, it might have been a leg, they prescribed him some painkillers.
That happens to people a lot.
Yeah. And
happened to someone I know as well. I mean, it didn't last, but someone I know. I'm not saying who it is, but
he came off the painkillers and felt bad and went back on the painkillers. Over a period of years, he had kind of a quack doctor that just kind of kept fucking prescribing him different kinds of damn painkillers. They're all opium-based painkillers, you know.
Which, like,
you're gonna get addicted.
If you're famous and you got money, then you can find a doctor that will give you whatever you want.
Doctors, a lot of doctors are they're legalized drug dealers. Really, they'll give you whatever you want. And especially like doctors of the stars, they'll give you whatever you want. Just ask Michael Jackson. All right.
Yeah.
They'll keep you floating on air. Well, this happened in a time in Elvis's life that was not good. He was beyond the age of 35. A man's normal testosterone production starts to decline at that time. If you start taking opioids, you'll collapse testosterone production. It'll go down to zero. If you come off that drug, you'll feel like shit, and you'll really lose your mojo. You just won't have any damn energy, which would encourage you to go back on the drugs.
Yeah.
You'll feel a little bit better. But your testosterone is suppressed. And looking at him, he physically looks like somebody that doesn't produce any damn testosterone. He's fat and he's puffy.
His face was super puffy.
His face is super, super puffy, which tells me that fucking he didn't have any androgens in him. Okay? When your testosterone's real low, you'll be fucking groggy. You won't have mental clarity. You will put on a lot of fat. You won't be able to lose the fat. You'll burn muscle before you'll burn fat when you don't have any test in you. So that's what I think was wrong with him. They didn't know this kind of stuff back then. What he needed detox, and he needed to begin exogenous hormone treatment. HRT, hormone replacement therapy, would have knocked that weight back off of him. He would have felt a lot better. He would have felt real positive mental attitude again. He'd gone back into his music, and he could have continued. But it becomes a vicious cycle of depression causes suppression, suppression causes depression, just on and on and on. It feels like the hand of death is coming at you. So he was taking those pills to hide from that. But like I said, those pills will stop testosterone production. It won't fix anything. It'll just hide a symptom. You'll get fatter and fatter and more lethargic and depressed, and that's what happened. He died.
Tila said those banana peanut butter bacon and jelly sandwiches didn't help either. I'm constipated just thinking about it.
Yep.
Well, that's another thing. I kind of feel like
they didn't have an understanding of diet.
Well, and growing up in the South too, I kind of feel like there's kind of a Southern thing where food is
it's like
love.
A religion. It's like a religion.
That's the way that people express affection because they're not comfortable doing it in other ways. So it's kind of like, that's how they show you that your family shows you they love you. They just keep feeding you. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think there's that. So when he felt bummed out, he not only took drugs but ate.
Yeah.
And because that made him feel good, like for a short time. The funniest thing to me about this movie is that he wanted to go undercover. He's fucking Elvis, right? Yeah. And he wanted to go undercover in like hippie communes, bands, the Black Panthers.
You kind of penetrate the Black Panthers.
I'm like, okay, I don't think that's going to work out the way you think. But so he thought he was going to do that. And he was going to like infiltrate the drug culture. Yeah. But by that point, he was on like all those opioids. Yeah. But like I said, I don't think that he saw that as drugs, even though they absolutely are.
He thought it was medicine.
Yeah. It's like, so he was like decrying, everybody like doing pot and LSD, but he was like a drug addict too. But I guess he didn't see it that way.
Yeah, that's not he didn't make that mental leap. Although I think
a lot of people still don't see it that way. Like I think like prescription drugs or painkillers and stuff, they don't really see that as in the same way that they would see like crack.
Well, those prescription opioids will also kind of distort your thinking. They'll put you even further in a bubble. I don't think he had any idea he was addicted to those things.
It didn't seem like.
I don't think he had any idea that those things affected him. You know? And
well, and the fact that he had a whole entourage that was just willing to do whatever he wanted.
Well, they tried to take the pills from him, and he pulled a gun on.
That's true.
Yeah, he was feeling bad. They took the gun. He pulled that fucking gun. He says, "Don't you ever take medicine? You trying to take my medicine? You trying to kill me?"
Yeah.
So what? Okay. Although I think Elvis, if they'd had the medical knowledge,
is that rain?
Rain? I think it
Holy
is.
crap!
If they'd had the medical knowledge. They'd known more about the endocrine system. I think a simple blood test would have showed that he was fucking starved out for fucking all kinds of hormones, and you could have banged him up pretty good, got him feeling better, get him off those damn pills. He'd have felt a lot better. You could keep him on the pills as long as you were fucking pumping him full of test. He'd be fine because he doesn't need to produce his own. He would just be on testosterone and high, but his body would have worked a lot better.
Well, like I said,
he's just gaining. And here's another thing. We're always fucking with him about how fat he got. I saw pictures of him in like the final months. He was fat, but he wasn't as fat as I thought he got. He's not as fat. I would
call him like chubby.
He got chubby.
He was chubby.
But I got to hand it to Elvis. When he was in the fat phase in his final months, I saw one of his performances. He sounded great. He became like a Southern Luciano Pavarotti. He was doing like fucking operatic, fucking opera level gospel music. He sounded great. So his performances never really suffered from what I saw. I'm sure there's a few bad ones, but what was recorded was great.
Yeah, I didn't really notice that he had slacked off in that regard at all. He just didn't look as good.
He gave it his all when he was on stage, evidently.
Oh yeah. Tila said, he was pretty sexy, even chubby. Yeah, it's like, I don't know if I'd call... I know everybody says fat Elvis, but like I said, I don't know if I'd call him fat. He wasn't obese. I don't think. He was chubby, chunky.
Yeah.
That's all.
He gained weight. And that, I'm telling you, that's opioids and fucking lack of testosterone.
And lots of peanut butter and nanner sandwiches.
And in this era, dudes didn't work out. You were supposed to be strong just by your innate inner power.
Yeah, it's almost like working out was like cheating.
That's cheating. Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. Well, of course you got big. You lifted weights. That's cheating. You're supposed to be strong just on the back of your own manhood.
You're supposed to just do that through your will.
Just will, yeah. Well, look at fucking Charlton Heston. All right, he was physically large frame guy, but there wasn't no meat on that dude. He's walking around with his shirt off like he's fucking Arnold. Well, but they didn't have any standards back then. They didn't know what. Well,
now the thing about it...
Although they had Chris Reeves.
That's true. But he was like... Well, he got to play Superman, so he was even like a cut above even back then. They recognized. But the thing about it is that this is something that I think about a lot.
No, because... not Chris Reeves. Steve Reeves.
Oh, Steve Reeves.
The dudes that played played Hercules. Yeah. They had Steve Reeves. Well, that was during Charlton Heston's time.
And what's
he
his face?
Fucking great.
Too, Mickey Hargitay, who was married to what's her name?
Yeah.
Shit.
Steve Reeves fucking was he was almost not quite as big as Arnold, but he was about the same size as Arnold after Arnold stopped lifting.
Yeah.
You know, he looked great.
Well, and like you said, it wasn't really mainstreamed back then. We kind of talked about that a little bit on the show that we did about bodybuilding. It wasn't really, I think for a long time, it was almost kind of seen as like a niche thing or like a gay man thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, men are very visual. It's the aesthetic quality. A lot of straight guys, of course, they're going to be focusing on women, the aesthetic quality. Fucking gay men are going to be focusing on other men, so they're going to pay attention to these little details. And it's obvious. If a dude's fucking looking good, you're not going to get compliments from women because they're going to think that that's fucking... They feel threatened by that, you know what I mean? They're going to look, but they're not going to say anything. Well,
because it's weird to go up to a random dude. If you go up to a dude and say, then he might you don't know what he's going to do then.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. But
that's just not something that you do.
But gay dudes will compliment the shit out of you.
Yeah.
They'll compliment the shit out of you.
Well, like I said, they don't have anything.
They don't have any barriers behind it. They'd be like, God, you're handsome, or God, you're looking good, and just, So, I do that to women, you're looking beautiful, so... it's just.
I'm just saying that it's not so much like women don't do that to men because it's a completely different dynamic, and you don't know that dude. He could be a murderer. You know what I mean? You don't know anything about him.
Yeah.
So it's like the fact that you're putting yourself in front of this dude that you don't know, and making a comment on his appearance that he's going to interpret as, "Ooh, this chick is into me."
Right.
Is this dude gonna stalk me now? Is he gonna you know what I mean? So is he gonna follow me home? Like, you don't know what he's gonna do.
Right.
So you don't do that. You don't do that ever. I mean, I would never dream of doing anything like that. Because you don't know what that dude's gonna do. You don't know that guy.
Do that to me.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you were flirting with me.
What happened was...
You flirted with me from day one.
What happened was...
First time I talked to you.
I walked by you. Yeah. No, the first thing was that you liked my necklace.
Oh, yeah.
You said. That was the first thing. I had seen you before, but I didn't say anything to you. I wouldn't have done that. I'm shy. I don't walk up to people like that. I walked past you on the way out to the front bar, I remember. Okay. And you said something, and I had a necklace, I don't remember what necklace it was, but you were like, "Oh, I really like that necklace," or "I like your outfit," or something like that. But you said you liked the necklace. So it's just kind of like, "Oh, you're that guy that does this and that and the other." Okay. That was what, so I didn't say anything to you at first.
All right.
Like I said, I had seen you, I'd noticed you, but I wouldn't have come up and talked to you, just randomly.
Said that was thick Elvis.
Thick Elvis, yeah. With 2 C's.
Yeah, he did kind of have the waistline of Pavarotti. But I'm going to tell you, man.
Well, Pavarotti was pretty big, though.
Fat dudes can fucking make some fucking cool sounds. They can sing a lot of them. Especially in the classical type stuff.
They have all that room to, echoes. I don't know if that's what it is. I'm just making it up. But, I don't know. It's just kind of like... What I was going to say before was that it always interests me because I feel like people didn't really know much about, as you said, fitness or nutrition or anything like that. It's like a lot of the shit that they used to say back in the 50s, 60s, shit like that, where, you know, we know now is probably bullshit.
T mentions that she thought Michael Jackson was sexy in the Thriller days because he was very slim. So it depends on how you carry it. Yeah, that's true, but you have to also look at what happens to guys of that build as they age. Most of them don't keep that slim look. What happens to a lot of them is they get like skinny fat, where there'll be skinny arms and legs, but then there's got a fucking belly. And that's just because of the hormonal profiles. You just can't burn fat after 35 very well. It gets worse. By the time you're 50, it's just, you're going to lose muscle before you lose fat. Unless you're very gifted. That's what testosterone's for. Just start bumping that. You'll fucking burn it like you did when you were a fucking teenager. You can leave greasy spots wherever you go. Fucking skin get all fucking slimy. Want me to make you another drink?
Yeah.
What's happening? Is that collapsing? What's happening over that computer?
Oh, it's crashing again.
It's crashing again?
It does that all the time.
All right.
I'm used to it at this point.
All right. You want the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll restart it. It doesn't need... The only thing that I keep this computer on for is for the on-air light. It's not on otherwise. But it should be okay. So I restarted it. But yeah, this was something I was thinking about the other day, because I watch a lot of real old movies, like from the 40s, 50s, 60s. And before they knew a lot about fitness, before they knew a lot about, you know, before they did a lot of plastic surgery, all the shit they do nowadays. So it kills me sometimes to think of all the shit that actors and stuff had to do back in those days. I mean, I've heard some horror stories about actresses back in the 30s and 40s that basically, if they were, you know, had a contract to a studio or whatever, and they weren't allowed to like gain, they were only allowed to gain this many pounds or whatever, and then they would weigh you. And then if you like, you know, gain too much weight, they'd give you fucking speed, or they'd tell you like you couldn't eat and all this other kind of shit. So they were doing that same kind of shit back then, but I think they had less of a... I think back then it was either starve or take speed.
Yeah.
Like for the actresses, because they didn't want you getting fat, you know. What?
Cigarette.
What are you pointing at?
Cigarette. I think out of everybody we know, there's only two guys that were able to maintain skinniness as they got older, and that would have been Laura's husband and Mark. From Mark and Laura.
And those some people,
and it's genetics. They eat like fucking crazy.
Well, some of it, yeah. I think to a large extent, I think some of it is genetic. Some people can just eat and not gain. I mean, my grandmother was like that. Yeah. She was a tiny, tiny woman. I think she weighed maybe 90 pounds her entire life. And then when she got, you know, older, like in her 70s, because she died when she was 79. She got into her late 60s and 70s. She maybe gained 10 pounds, so she maybe weighed 110 pounds. Maybe. And she ate whatever she wanted. Drank Cokes every day. She never drank water. She only drank Coca-Cola. She ate Little Debbie's. She ate all that fattening Southern food. Never gained an ounce.
Yeah.
Actually, she said when she was younger, they used to try to make her gain weight because she was underweight. She's like, and I remember they used to make me drink beer with every meal. They used to like feed me milkshakes, and it never did anything. She never gained any weight. She was tiny, tiny, tiny her whole life. And I used to tell her, because I used to tease her all the time. I used to say, man, I wish I'd got those genes. Nope.
I've been studying the human results of human experimentation over the past 2 years of diet and exercise for fucking men as they age after 40. And in some guys can remain skinny like that, like forever. We were talking about, but that's genetics. Okay?
Yeah, it is.
You can't do that. All right, yeah. Most people don't have those genes.
Yeah, that's like winning the lottery.
For the average person, the best strategy is one that I have said many times on this show: growth. Growth. If you can keep your body in a state of growth or building, you can do what's called, you can keep a decent body composition. where you're eating a high protein diet, low in carbohydrates, low in calories, weightlifting, and you want to balance your hormones. You want to have the hormones of a person in their 20s or 30s, which you get through an HRT clinic. That means that your body will respond properly to those workouts that you do. I was able to fucking lift for the first 2 years and make some progress. But man, I maxed out, and then it just became constant pain and fucking soreness and ache. It just never really heal up. There's just too much muscle fiber there to heal with the hormonal profile that I had. Put the hormones in there, and all of a sudden healing's no problem. You feel better. You can continue to grow. You don't have to grow big. Just keep yourself bumping yourself up over your last 20 or 30 years until you die. And you'll look and feel a lot better during that growth period. Because when you're growing, you're healing and you're maintaining. If you're not doing anything, it starts to atrophy. You want to prevent atrophy. Aging and dying is a form of atrophy. So you don't want to be in atrophy mode. You want to be in growth mode. You're going to need hormones to do it, probably, though. Because you're genetically programmed to die. That's why the hormones are stopping. You're out of the reproduction game. Nature's trying to get you the fuck out of here. But why the fuck do you want to listen to nature? Nature says your teeth fall out. What, you're not going to put false teeth in? Nature says you're blind. You're not going to put contacts in? Nature says your fucking hair's falling out. You're not going to put a fucking wig on? Or you're just going to shave it all up and be bald, right? One of the two. It's just, there's ways to combat all this stuff. If something's missing, replace it. That's all.
Yeah, 60s Ram is saying that's what they did to Judy Garland. That's exactly who I was thinking of. Like, a couple of people brought her up. And I feel like, Bill, because if you see Wizard of Oz, she's not fat in it. She's just, like, normal sized. But I think that what happened was that they were like, well, you need to get thinner. And so they started, like, feeding her speed. And I think she got addicted to it. And then that's started on the downward spiral, because they were giving her all the drugs to keep her thin. And I think that happened to a lot of starlets, particularly in those days.
That was in the days where being skinny was being pretty.
Yeah, so they just kept feeding them drugs all the time to keep them from getting fat.
Yeah, and that's the worst thing you can do to a woman as she ages. That's the worst. That's the worst thing you could do to anybody, is to keep a person in a state of starvation, especially as they age. Now, there's some bodies that are built for that, to be thin. It's all over China and Japan. But most people are not supposed to be like that. Most people are kind of supposed to fill out.
Well, you're not supposed to be in starvation mode, but it is actually better to be in calorie restriction.
Well, that depends on your hormonal profile.
And depending on, like, it prevents, like, a lot of diseases and stuff like that.
There's a whole science to this. On my Instagram, I got women on there as examples of watching their progress, men's progress through all these different age groups. I know what they're taking. I know what their workout routines are. There are women like Lauren Lopez in their mid-50s that do hormone replacement. They do light cycles of anabolics, and they lift. And at 50-something, just gorgeous. Gorgeous. And do they look older? Yeah, they look older. They don't look like a skinny little 14, 15-year-old girl. They look like a woman, you know? It's because she's keeping her body in a state of growth. And that growing is maintaining all of the entire body, including circulatory systems and, respiratory systems. And evidently, people that do it this way also have a less chance of cancer. Very rarely do they come down with any kind of cancers, because growth also combats cancer. So you end up having the metabolism like a shark, or a fucking turtle. They never really die. They just continue to slowly grow. The alligator just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You just don't want to get so big to where you max out. And then that's a lot of stress on your body too. You want to grow kind of slowly, over a 20 or 30 year period. That way it's incremental improvements and refreshing and rebuilding the body. You might need outside help, like I said, HRT. That's the first step. I'm doing it. I saw results instantly. As soon as I got those hormones balanced, Just felt like I was starving for something. It was like a lot of satisfaction. Like, oh man, I fucking forgot what this felt like. Just everything's working well now. I could eat all day. I just fucking fat just coming off. Everything works like it did when I was in my 20s. Is there a risk? At the dosages that I'm doing now, not really. Because it's just a normal level for a healthy person in their 20s or 30s, maybe 20s. So I'm just putting back stuff in there that's supposed to be in there. If it shaves a couple years off the end of my life, which I doubt it, but if it did, it'd be worth the trade-off. You die anyway. Why not fucking have a good quality second half of your life, you know what I mean? Than to have a long, shitty one where the quality's, 2 years, I got an extra 2 years, it was shitty, but, it's better just to go ahead and just do it. It's going to be good. It's going to work out.
Strawdog78 says, I can think of a ton of women celebrities that look like they age well. The dudes, not so much. Yeah, and Tila made the point there's more pressure on female celebrities. And I think that female celebrities, there's a lot less stigma about them getting plastic surgery as well. Yeah. I think dudes do, but I don't think it's quite as, I don't want to say acceptable, because it is, but I don't know. I feel like women are a lot more, it depends on who it is, but I think it's a lot more.
Each celebrity's a different things.
And then Dermot says 90s were worse with the heroin chic look. Yeah, I remember that. Everybody wanted to look like they were starving to death.
Each one of those celebrities, men celebrities, is a unique situation. A good example would be Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone's like 74. He's starting to show signs of age, but he looked great at 63. He looked great. All right. Now, he had fucked his face up. You can see it in, was it Rambo 4? It looked real fucking puffy.
The one with all the gore?
Yeah. That's a good movie, though.
I was looking at all the heads exploding.
His face looked real fucked up. And the reason why that happened is because Stallone started to mess around with human growth hormone, which for a while they thought that might have been something safer and better to use than some kind of an anabolic steroid. It does do a pretty good job, but one of the things it does is it makes your fucking nose and your face, your facial features grow. When you have to have all that shit trimmed back down, you gotta have your face redone. So people stopped using it, or at least
because that seems like
it didn't.
That's a big downside.
Yeah.
Well, my body looks skinny, but my face is enormous.
Well, it didn't make him look skinny. He was trying to build up a bunch of bulk without fucking his heart up on steroids. Now, people will go, these steroids fuck up your heart and this and that. All right, a lot of guys in the 1970s, guys like Arnold and the guys from the Golden Era, a lot of them died, okay, because they were taking oral steroids and real primitive steroids from that time, and they were taking them in tremendous amounts. A competition bodybuilder going through, going through the Olympia, they already have fucking great genetics. They can get big.
Thank you, David, by the way.
What's it?
Says because no one sent anything for a few.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. They already got great genetics. They work out like fucking crazy. They're already got pretty big skeletons, most of them. And then they take a shit ton of steroids to maxing it out. They're like guys drag racing to see who can get biggest the fastest. They're trying to make that show date. That's super hard on your system. They're young doing this too. So they're just burning themselves up by the time they're fucking, they're in their 20s and late teens. Arnold was taking shit like 16 and 17. He's fucking banging fucking heavy steroid cycles. Arnold's fucking huge, man. Fucking by the time he was 19, he was giant. That takes a lot of gas out of your tank. It does. It fucked his heart up. By the time he was 50, he couldn't do that anymore. He'd kill himself. So you have to move on to other things. And if you don't, you're going to fucking lose all that mass. And they didn't really have HRT or fucking, fucking testosterone. And there's only so much of that you can take, So guys like Stallone started to mess around with things like HGH because that doesn't quite do the same thing as steroids does, but it fucked his face up. But he held out real good till 60-something. 73, you can start to see he's showing signs of age, but he looks much better than most people at 73. I mean, he was a lot better than most people at 73.
Well, shit, man. I see movies from a long time ago that had actors in it that were supposed to be in their 20s or 30s, but looked like they were about 50 years old. But then you find out later that that actor was like 28, and I was like, holy fucking crap. That is a hard 28.
Yeah. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm just telling you what I've been seeing. You don't want to mess with any of that shit until you're middle-aged. And if you do it middle-aged, you want to be prescribed things by doctors. And everything's got to be stuff that's in the safer categories, and it all has to be in reasonable doses. Because when you look at guys who've actually done things and lived an entire life and died in their 80s or 90s, you start to see a pattern. Guys like Jack LaLanne. They didn't do anything until they were in the latter half of their life, and then they kept it kind of reasonable, and they looked great, and they were strong, and they die in their 80s or their 90s, but when they die, they look strong. They are strong. They're healthy in certain ways. Something's going to get you somewhere. You know what I mean? And something eventually does get them. But it's not the drugs. You know what I mean? Those compounds actually strengthened them. Without that, they may have died sooner. You just don't know. But everybody's going to die anyway. It's only a matter of time.
I'm not. I'm just kidding. I know. No, I am. I'm just kidding. No, we got a hello from Luxembourg. Yeah. And look, their screen name is, I believe, Harry Clit.
What?
But not spelled the way.
We're getting crazier and crazier.
I mean, unless that's your real name. Let me check all
the. What you call
Canada says, talking about intermittent fasting. Yeah. I try to do that too. Where it's kind of like every day there's only like an 8-hour window in which you can eat, and then after that 8-hour window is over, like you have like 14 or 16 hours where you can't eat. Yeah, I try to do that too. Yeah. But it's, it depends. We have literally eaten one thing today. Well, I've only literally eaten one. I don't know if you ate something else while I wasn't looking, because I was in here working.
No, I only ate one thing.
Yeah, we had a little bowl of spaghetti meatballs, about that big, and that's all.
Yeah, well, it all depends on what you're trying to do.
I had that, and I had a cup of coffee this morning. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah, it all depends on what you're trying to do.
Some fiber gummies.
If you're trying to lose fat but maintain your muscle mass, it's tough, especially if you're older. Okay. You're more likely to lose muscle mass and keep the fat if you're older. Just the hormones aren't there. If you're young or gifted genetically or both, and you're on things like HRT or things like fucking anabolic steroids, you can pretty much eat anything. You'll just burn it up. You'll gain a whole bunch of fucking muscle mass. If you're lifting though, you just can't sit there and take that shit. If you just sit there and take that shit, you'll just turn into a fucking big blob. You'll look bloated as hell. That stuff allows you to heal up quickly so you can work out every day instead of twice a week. You're working out every fucking day. 12 hours later, you're fully healed up. You go in there and you fucking work out again. Superhuman fucking strength and endurance. Superhuman healing abilities. Some of that shit's dangerous though. It depends on what it is. Each one of those compounds has different effects. Some of them will turn you into a total psycho. Like trenbolone. Trenbolone will make you kill some shit. It makes you fucking evil. It's a very effective. Just don't fuck with that. Don't fuck with that shit.
I don't need that.
It'll burn every ounce of fat off of you and make you a fucking.
I mean, that sounds
something
nice.
Out of a god. Oh yeah, it'll happen fast. You'll just be ripped. You'll get fucking huge, and you'll be.
I don't know. Being evil might be worth it. I'm already kind of evil. It's just I just keep it under wraps.
Turn you into a total fucking psychotic psychopath. It's like fucking. When they take it, they'll also take like mood stabilizers along with it and should try to counteract all those side effects. A lot of the stuff isn't like a one-shot deal. It's a whole stack of stuff. You got to take this, that, and this, and that, and this, and that. And it's all counteracting one another. And then if they raise the dosages, sometimes they got to fucking raise. It's just a huge bundle of shit. But these are guys who are doing competition bodybuilding. They're almost like professional drug addicts. And it's a whole bunch of shit, and that's why a lot of them fucking die. A lot of them die. Dude named Rich Piana, he looked like a fucking freakazoid. He looked like that dude out of that Marvel superhero movie, Thanatos. What's his name? Thanos. That he looked just like that. He didn't look like a human. Just huge shoulders the size of bowling balls, big old fucking arms and everything. He was a nice guy. Made a lot of money selling stuff off the internet. He was famous. Instagram stuff, died of a heart attack. I mean, it's just, the human heart is not designed to move that much mass around. You know? If his heart was maybe 3 times that size, he could power a body that size, but he just died of, you know, it's just too much goddamn mass. You're just genetically not designed to carry that much. I mean,
your heart's only this
It's only that big, yeah. He got huge. Huge, and I don't think aesthetic, really. I don't think he looked good. But
you know what's really weird? Yeah. You know, since we're talking about that, and in the opposite direction, because many years ago, like right around the time that I met you or started hanging out with you,
yeah,
I lost like 90, 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And an interesting and it took maybe 5 months, right? I lost it like fairly quickly. I wasn't starving, but I was going on like severe calorie restriction. An interesting thing that happened, I felt a lot better. It was like a lot more energetic and stuff like that. But an interesting thing that happened was I started to develop heart palpitations.
Yeah.
And I started passing out all the time.
A lot of people who lose weight get that.
Yeah, and I even I went to a cardiologist. He hung me upside down on a table. Well, because it first happened, like I went to give blood because I used to have to, you know, I had to monitor my cholesterol because it used to be high. It's not anymore. And I passed out and I had a seizure, like on the floor. So then they started sending me to all this shit. And so the doctor says to me, it's like, your heartbeat is very weird. It's like your heartbeat, every time you breathe, it like speeds up. So it's like not even, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, so it's like beat, like it's like that. So then I had to like wear a heart monitor for a long time so they could like check it out. And they said, well, there's probably nothing wrong, but you might want to watch that. You know what I mean? But I think maybe what it was, and the doctor said this too, because I told him, I said, well, I just lost like 90 or 100 pounds, like in a 5-6 month period. And he's like, well, that might be what it is because your body is so used to pumping blood around an extra 90, 100 pounds. And now that's not there anymore. And so it's making you feel weird or lightheaded, like your heart can't regulate like your shit anymore.
She was super skinny looking when we first started to go out. It actually didn't look that good. You look better when you gained some of that back.
Yeah.
You're too skinny.
Yeah, I got down to like pretty skinny.
Yeah.
I wasn't anorexic. I was 118. That was the lowest I got.
Way too.
And that was even now I see pictures of myself when I was 118 and I'm like, oh, I looked kind of ill. A lot of people told me
you looked better at around 130, 140.
And my heart was like freaking out back then too.
Yeah, somebody was in there saying that some girl was in there. I think that might have been Sandra. Sandra said that she was too thin for me. Yeah, I don't really like. There are some women that look good thin, but I like curves, really. You know.
Yeah. It depends on the person. I mean, it's everybody has. Yeah, everybody has their own thing going on.
Yeah.
So if you can like rock what you got, and it looks good, like with what your whole situation is.
Yeah.
Then you know.
But I like calling out all this fucking chemical stuff and fucking metabolic stuff and drugs because I know that Instagram is a big thing. And a lot of people follow people in the new version of the fitness scene because these people are all selling stuff and they put up pictures of themselves and they get a lot of followers and people go, boy, I wish I could look like that. And this, I'm telling you, pretty much every one of those fitness girls and guys, they're all on something. All right. They're not going to tell you that because they're trying to sell you some kind of a powder or some kind of a shirt or something. And the stigma is still kind of there. But a person with an amazing physique is on something. The reason why it's amazing is because it's on the outer edge of normal. And to be on the outer edge of normal or in the abnormal area, you have to be on something. Just the way it is. The human body isn't built to look like that.
Yeah, you don't really see any of that happening naturally.
No.
I mean, that would be very...
It'd be 1 in a billion, and it would be genetic if it looked like that naturally. And there's not enough of those genes out there in the gene pool to rise to the top. It'd be a freak expression of some kind of a gene, usually. The people that you notice, there's usually something unusual about them. All right? That's why you noticed them. If they were normal, you wouldn't notice them. So if they look abnormally good looking, they're on something. They're also working. They're working out, but they're on something. Especially if they're older. I mean, it's easy for a teenager or a person in their 20s to get kind of an extreme physique, but they won't keep it for long. Their hormonal profiles.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in your like teens or 20s, especially if you're a guy.
Yeah.
Because shit, I have brothers. I you know, and I had a lot of male friends growing up. It's like those motherfuckers could eat everything.
Yeah,
that wasn't nailed down.
Yeah.
And just not gain any weight.
Yeah, it's the hormonal profiles. Meanwhile,
me, as soon as I went through puberty, I started gaining weight every time like I sniffed food.
Yeah.
So, you know. So I'm just a little resentful. No, not me.
Yeah.
Oh, Pokey.
But
Hi, sweetie.
Right now, depending on I don't know what state you're in, but in the state of Florida, the safest, most approved thing you can do is HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy.
Is she gonna jump up here? Because I feel like.
Not. You can also, there are also men's health clinics around here that'll straight up fucking give you HRT and roids. That's legal here, in Florida, but I think there's like certain waivers. I haven't looked into that, but I think there's certain waivers to that. And there are probably gonna be limits to how much they can give you, because they're not, you know what I mean? They're not gonna be giving you what.
Well, they don't want to get sued if something.
They don't want to get sued. So they're going to give you what a pro bodybuilder is going to be taking. You know, pretty much all that stuff is relatively safe nowadays. That what they're using, as long as it's in reasonable dosages, but supervised by a doctor. Don't go out there and just. I've had some people contact me on there and ask me all kinds of questions on the internet about this and that. And then they can't repeat to me what I just told them. So I know a person like that cannot handle a fucking drug schedule. All right? It's a package of things that you have to take all the time. Well, I don't want this. I just want that. And then this is what's going to happen. Your nut's going to shut down and you're not going to be able to bust a nut. Okay? That's what's going to happen. Because they don't listen. People think that there's just a one-shot deal. I'll just take this and it'll be okay. Nah, it's usually 3 or 4 things.
Well, people like easy things.
It's not easy.
People like easy solutions.
Yeah. And then you're gonna need like regular blood work once every 4 months. You're gonna have your fucking blood drawn, and they have to look in there and see if anything needs to be adjusted. So it's a science to it. It's proven. And it's all part of life extension. Everything is life extension. Brushing your teeth is life extension. You don't brush your teeth, you're gonna lose your teeth. You're gonna look like shit, and in the wild, you wouldn't be able to eat. You'd die. Okay. Wiping your ass is life extension. Okay. If you don't wipe your ass, you're gonna get an infection, and then you're gonna die. Everything.
I was gonna say you're gonna get an infection if your teeth fall out too.
Yeah, that's right. If you don't have no teeth and you start getting up in somebody's ass crack and a booty crack and they haven't been wiping, you're gonna fucking die. All right. Everything is not eating ass. It's life extension. Everything is life extension. Okay. Hygiene used to be that people shit in a pot and put the pot underneath the damn bed. And recently. You know,
yeah, that wasn't really that long ago.
Yeah, that should have killed you.
Okay? I'm talking about, I read a book about the fucking Lizzie Borden case, right?
Yeah. T says wash your ass. Yes, wash your ass.
I mean, that shouldn't need to be said. I'm just saying. But yeah, so I remember this very vividly. When I was a teenager, in my 20s maybe, I read a book about the Lizzie Borden case, and one of the things pretty much the only thing that I remember from that book really vividly was that the whole family, they had eaten some bad mutton or some shit like that, and they'd all been violently ill, so they'd all been like shitting and vomiting into their fucking chamber pots, and that shit was still in the house. It was like under the beds.
Want to go outside?
I'm like, what, you want to shit and vomit in a bowl and keep it like right over, like under where you sleep? Did that not occur to you that was like not a good idea? That blows my fucking mind. It really does. That blows my mind. The fact that you wouldn't even think of that. And I think I might have brought this up before, but if you guys are like into nonfiction or you're into like weird, gross history or anything like that, there's this book called, I can't remember who wrote it, but there's this book called The Ghost Map. And it was about the cholera, I think it was the cholera epidemic in London in the late 19th century. And that was how they discovered that people shitting in the water supply was what was causing cholera. And like the doctor that figured it out they essentially were like, witch. They thought he was like a witch doctor because they were just kind of like, that's not what's happened. Like, we've been shitting in the water for hundreds of years.
Yeah, that won't hurt you.
Fine.
That won't hurt you.
So the fact that
shit water's fine. Here, shit this water. I'll drink some. See, look, shit water. There's no problem with shit water.
Don't be such a pussy.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it was like that. And it was just, it's fucking mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling because I feel like natural selection, okay, has, and I hate to like attribute, you know, I don't want to give like intention to natural selection because it's indifferent. But natural selection has given animals, not just humans, but animals, mammals, the understanding that shit smells bad and is gross because you're supposed to avoid it.
To avoid it, yeah.
So the fact that people would be fine with just shitting in a puddle next to their house and then just drinking the water that was just right there. Yeah. And they didn't really think anything of it, and they didn't think that was going to cause any diseases. And the fact that somebody would come forward and be like, hey, this might be what's causing the problem, and everyone just being like, no. Yeah. And it's just, it's the craziest fucking shit ever. See, people are really, really stupid.
Recently, I'm watching YouTube and I'm seeing all these fucking videos and everything on the news about all these fucking intersectionalists and all these fucking this shit coming out of these universities about all their fucking race theory and I'm fucking realizing, what are these motherfuckers complaining about? Think about it. Just less than 100 years ago, 1890s, we still had barely kind of come online with what the ancient Romans knew. At least like the elites, you know, fucking in a way, the late 1800s, philosophically, kind of mentally, if you talk to the average person, they were kind of beneath the level of an ancient Roman in their understanding of things. A lot of stuff has been lost from the Roman period. We're not even really sure what their technology was. When they unearthed those two ships down there that were, what was his name, Caligula's pleasure barges, there was a central heating system in those ships that had valve works and castings, like of lion heads and stuff that were gorgeous. We couldn't do things like that until the 20s in some cases.
Well, I think that's kind of why, I mean, this is why people like me that read about shit like that, this is why I complain about shit nowadays, because I'm like, we should be a lot farther along than this. We
should be 2,000 years ahead.
I mean, people disappoint me.
Right,
That's why.
Very much.
People are just disappointed.
But the reason why I mentioned this is I was saying it's kind of a travesty to try to judge the way people and the way the United States was in the 1800s versus now, because really the 1800s was so backwards compared to now. I mean, Rome was a little bit ahead of it in some ways. It was just another fucking world. You could not, their thinking back then, even in the 1800s, just was not. Their understanding of reality was very different than ours. Yeah, they had some good authors. Yeah, they had some good thinkers, but those were kind of like the elites. Those were the top.
Yeah, I mean, society. The thing about it is that when you read, because I read some shit from back then, like fiction and various other things, some of the shit that you read is almost like it could have been written today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
the world they lived in was not today, though.
No, it was a lot different.
It was a lot different. And like I said, in some ways, if you were to give me a choice, would you like to live in Boston in 1850, or would you rather live in the city of Rome in fucking in the year fucking 20 A.D. or 80 B.C.? I'd probably take 80 B.C. or 20 A.D. I could learn that language. Portuguese and Portuguese descended from Latin. I could learn that language. I can read that language.
A lot of languages descended from Latin. Yeah. Spanish, French.
Yeah, I can read it.
Italian.
I can't understand all the nouns because I don't know what they're referring to. They're referring to things that I'd never heard or don't exist anymore. But I could easily learn that language. And yeah, they had a lot of bad shit going on there too. But it was a lot less repressive. As long as you weren't some kind of a German slave, you could probably have a lot of fun there.
I mean,
most people were in slavery.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like, I don't know, I feel like this is kind of a question that people, no one's invented a time machine yet. But if somebody came up to me and asked me, you can go to any year in the past, I don't think I would want to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm a girl, and I'm just kind of like...
Oh, there would have been cool shit. Probably certain
I don't know, man.
Ancient Egypt probably have been pretty good for a woman if you had money.
But I don't have money, though.
Well, no, if you went back, you could make money.
Maybe.
Because you're modern intelligence.
Yeah, I'd go back and I'd be like the ancient Egyptian Nostradamus.
Yeah, what you do is you show them how to make a thing like a battery. Or show them how to make things.
He's like, gather around, ancient peoples. I'm going to blow
Think
your
of the
minds.
fashion designs you could cook. They probably love that shit.
I'm going to go change the entire course of history. I'm going to fuck everything up.
Fuck everything up.
I'm going to fuck everything. I'm going to butterfly effect the shit out of that
I was just watching a show, though, that had Roman or historians that were specialized in ancient Rome. And they were admitting how little they actually know about the period. They don't really know what the level of technology was. Things are referred there. They don't know exactly what they're talking about. It may have been more like, it wasn't industrial, but close. It was, you know what I mean? It was on the verge of an industrial revolution, as far as they know. They didn't have internal combustion. They know that. But they had something called Greek fire. And they'd had that for centuries. But it was top secret. The recipe was never passed down. But some of those guys thought that
space lasers, they had Greek death rays back then. They had death rays. The aliens showed it to them.
Some of those guys thought that maybe they did have some primitive understanding of electric batteries, and maybe
it's not crazy because
they knew about hydraulics.
It is a natural principle, and it's not crazy to think that maybe somebody back then stumbled across the shit. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they think that the ancient people did figure out batteries, at least in like limited pockets of places, right?
One guy thought that would have been kind of pretty close to what you'd find in the 20s in Europe. That at Rome's height, it might have been something like that. Not with radio, but I don't remember when did Marconi do his shit? 20s, shit. Right?
I thought it was earlier than that, but maybe a little bit earlier. Yeah. But I don't remember.
Yeah, Victor Garcia talked about the Baghdad batteries. Yeah, nobody knows if those actually are batteries, but boy, they sure do look like batteries.
They do, actually. Yeah. I feel like maybe we should do... I was thinking about this the other day, and I forgot to write it down. But I thought maybe one of these days we should do a show on, what do they call it? OOPs, like the out-of-time inventions. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that mechanism thing they found, like the Baghdad battery, like other things like that.
Yeah.
Where they found things that looked like kind of modern shit before they were invented. You know what I'm saying? They
said that there seemed to be mass production in ancient Rome. They found things that seemed to be standardized. But so little of it has survived.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, too, is that you have to think, it was such a long time ago, one. Mm-hmm. Two, only a very limited amount of people were writing about the time period.
Yeah.
That's the second thing. Third thing, it's like even of all the people that were writing in the time period, we don't necessarily know if we have all of their writings, if all of the writings have survived to the present day. So that's three things. That's three strikes right there. So we don't actually know how much shit we're missing. I mean, there's probably huge segments of history that's missing.
Victor brings up a good fucking point. When they found that sunken Roman ship, it was full of bitcoins. Imagine that shit. Yes, indeed. I'd love to find. Look at these bitcoin.
Oh my god.
Damn.
These will be worth a lot of money someday.
Yeah. Garcia saying, I'd rather live in Pompeii in 79 AD. That's when that shit blew, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that's kind of the point that he was making. Yeah. He's like, you get blown.
And Maniac says, I'd take Rome in any year over Boston in any year. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
You go get a drink.
I wouldn't mind visiting some places just to kind of see the shit. But if somebody told me I had to stay there, no thanks. No thanks. I like plumbing and electricity. You know what I mean? Call me soft if you wish. I want toilets and running water and air conditioning. And internet's nice too. Although I lived a long time without it, I could probably live without that. But other than that, yeah, I don't really want to live in a time where people just threw their poop out the windows. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that, not one bit. Yeah, and another point is we don't realize how much wars destroy history too. And it's like, yeah, that's what I mean. It's like we don't even know. So much shit that happens is lost because did anybody think to write it down? If they did write it down, do we still have it nowadays? Look at all the shit that's been lost. It's just fucking, I don't know. It's depressing to think about sometimes. When you think about all the shit that's happened, how long it's been, and how much of that knowledge is gone.
Another thing that's kind of spooky is that how short-lived civilizations tend to be.
That too. I mean, it seems like a long time to us, but you know what I mean? It's like the human lifespan is not really that long. It's not
very long. Like, if you look at world history, you'll have like a civilization pop up and it'll be around for a couple hundred years and then it goes back into a dark age. Something else might pop up somewhere else and it's only lasts for a couple hundred years, maybe fucking 1,000 years or something, you know, and it just kind of, it's like popcorn popping up and down, you know.
Yeah, it didn't seem like that to them because that was several generations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But when you look at it, high advanced civilizations, if you look at through history, one, they didn't get very advanced. Two, they didn't last very long. They did for the people that lived in them, but
yeah. And Victor points out the Spanish burned the Aztec and Inca libraries.
Yeah, that was fucking a crime, and even the damn friars that were there, wrote back to Rome, the Vatican, and saying we shouldn't be burning this shit up, man. We need to keep all this shit for posterity. Historians are going to want to know all this stuff. And they said, no, burn it all. It's all satanic. And you know, these are guys in Rome that didn't even see the shit. I can understand why they thought that way from their point of view, you know. This is 1500s. And the Mayan and Aztec religions fucking would have looked like Satanism to Catholics.
Everything looked like Satanism to them. Let's be honest.
Human sacrifice, child sacrifice, blood.
Sure, that's not good. I'm not saying that, but it's just kind of like it's just writing.
Cortez wrote about it though. What he describes was a totalitarian theocracy. The ruling royal families and the priests inside. What is it? Teotihuacan? Teotihuacan. I remember what the name of the fucking capital city was. They used the threat of execution over noblemen's families in the servant cities. In other words, they had made an empire of other cities around it. They kept it in line because at any moment they could demand that king over in that other city give up his daughter or his son for sacrifice. So it was totalitarianism. It wasn't a free system, and that was one of the reasons why Cortez was able to fucking... People think that the Spanish just showed up and fucked all this shit up. No. Cortez showed up, and he did a tour around all the cities for several years, talking to everybody and understanding the politics. And once he understood the system, he got a huge volunteer allied army of all these allied Indians from the other cities to overthrow the capital city. And once that happened, a lot of them actually tore down their own religious monuments because they were trying to get rid of an old system. Maybe in the same way people were tearing down Nazi monuments and Soviet monuments after the fall of the Soviet Union. It's just a common practice. A lot of that Roman stuff disappeared all throughout Europe because once the empire was gone, the fucking locals fucking were sick of that shit. They tore it down because they were symbols of a past that they didn't want anymore.
Yeah, you can understand why they would do that. Like
they did it.
From a grassroots standpoint, you'd be like, I don't want to look at this shit anymore. These are my oppressors. I don't want to see it.
Right, because we didn't build these statues. These aren't ours. And fucking
Victor saying the whole thing about the Aztec thinking Cortez was Quetzalcoatl coming back as a myth. The Spanish wrote all that shit after
kind of.
Yeah.
Well, see, the thing is that Cortez knew their religion by then. He had an Indian girlfriend. I think her name was Malenke or Palenque. I think her name was. He already had a son on the way. The Spaniards were already kind of mixing in with the indigenous population. They started that from day one. They said the women were real good looking. You know, so and you know, that's another thing is history's been recast as like oh, these white colonizers coming and killing all these Indians. Yeah, they killed a lot of people, but they also kind of the writings of the time kind of always expressed kind of like these big man crushes on the Indians about how good looking they were, that they were strong and brave people, and that they were kind of at a disadvantage because guns really didn't work against them. Everything was hand-to-hand combat with bladed weapons or clubs, and that they were better at field craft. I mean, that's just mentioned over and over again. And they were all marrying in with Indians and had Indian children that they were raising. And, you know, most of Salem was Indian, you know, during the Salem witch trials. That's another thing, you know, about half of them had married Indians. So it's just it wasn't as cut and dried. You know what I mean? People did. What are you looking for?
Nothing. I was just
oh, okay.
Looking at how much drink you had left.
I got a lot. What, you want another one?
In a minute.
Okay.
In a minute.
Let me get a cigarette.
Okay. I was just laughing because on a different topic, DJ Maniac said something that made me laugh. He said that, well, let's scroll back up. He said, I'm in a war with some idiot on Facebook right now because he claimed industrial originated from nu metal, and now I want to punch people. And then he said later, I told him he probably thought Green Day invented punk too. Didn't shut him up though. Now he's talking more shit.
I think it came from actually house.
We need to get into that a little bit.
When I was hanging out at City Club in Detroit and stuff, St. Andrews Hall, I saw a lot of industrial bands. One of them was Skinny Puppy. They were just from across the river. The other one was called Kitty with a Whip. That was a weird band. They're gone now.
Kitten with a Whip was a movie.
Yeah, it's either Kitten with a Whip or Kitty with a Whip.
Well, Kitten with a Whip was the movie. It had Ann Margaret.
Talking about the band.
And John Forsythe, because I saw it on Mystery Science Theater.
Well, in those same clubs, some nights were house. It was like house and techno. And some of it was kind of like black DJs, and some of it was white DJs. Skinny Puppy and Kitten with a Whip, in the industrial stuff in Detroit at least, was kind of like the white version of house. That's what it seemed like. Same clubs, same basic style, and it was a goth version of house. That's the best way I can describe it. I think that's where it came from. It was inspired by DJs doing things like scratching and mixing two songs together, and then a guy singing over it. Well, that's kind of like the thing that was happening in the rap scene with Public Enemy. They were doing that same thing on the street. Kind of like something you'd see down in Jamaica, where the bars were on the street and they'd be playing records out on the street and drinking on the street, selling cigarettes on the street, and then they'd start scratching and singing over records. And they were doing, what'd they call that music? It's not reggae. It's Jamaican. Have you ever heard of it? Somebody in this comment section might know. Oh, shit. I'm trying to remember what that shit's called.
Well, and you have
Somebody
to think...
British might know what that is.
You have to think, too, that there was a lot of shit going on in the 70s with sort of experimental shit, noise kind of shit, you know, stuff like Throbbing Gristle.
No, it wasn't dub.
Shit like that.
It wasn't dub and it wasn't ska. No, it wasn't ska. Ska came from it.
Well, ska was almost kind of like a reggae punk hybrid.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Dance hall. That's what it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Down the bottom got rid of dance hall. Dance hall was kind of like a reggae version of what Public Enemy was doing here in the United States.
That's just really funny to me because I've heard, you know what? It's weird. I was thinking about this today or yesterday because I was out on my hike and I was listening to my Pandora station. And on the Pandora station, it played the Nine Inch Nails cover of Dead Souls, the Joy Division song. And for some reason, I was thinking about somebody I was talking to a really long time ago. And they had gotten like really insistent that, I don't know if it was that particular song, but they were really insistent that like some cover of like some really old song from the 70s was the original and that the original was the cover. You know what I mean? But they were like a really young kid.
Yeah.
And it just made me laugh, like how certain they were, even though they were obviously wrong.
Yeah, they didn't know what they're talking about.
And it's just, I don't know. It was just kind of making me laugh because I'm just kind of like these kids that are like in their fucking teens and 20s and they're just like, nuh-uh, like fucking Nine Inch Nails wrote that song.
No,
and it was, you know what I mean? I'm like, no, that song came out in like 1979.
No, guys, I answered already. It was Dance Hall. Go check out Dance Hall. Dance Hall is kind of, I believe, where ska came from and where a lot of reggae came from. And industrial, when I first heard it, was kind of like Detroit's version of Dance Hall, but it was for goth kids. Rap had its own thing going on, and then there was another version of it called techno. And techno was just like a dance version of it, dance club version of Dance Hall. It's difficult to explain. People are just making up shit. They're pulling shit out their ass as they're going.
And the reason that the genre is called industrial, initially, I thought, was because the sounds were reminiscent of industrial noises, factory noises. And so, like I'm saying, you have bands like Einstürzen for example, which means collapsing new buildings, in case you didn't know. And they didn't have any musical instruments. They just used pipes and masonry and things like that to make the music. Yeah. And that was going on, I feel like late 70s, early 80s at least. Like the early shit was real noise oriented.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. So it's very funny to me that like younger kids that just kind of came on the train as it was like at the way station, like way along the line.
Yeah. And
then they act like they know everything.
I remember what I was talking about. I'm going to answer the question about Cortez. Cortez and the whole Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan, I think it was Kukulkan mythos. Cortez had been there for several years, getting ready for that big attack against the Aztec capital city. By that time, he knew the religion and the culture. He already had Indian allies from kings and shit from the other cities around it. He knew all about that Cortez or that Kukulkan mythos or legend. So he planned some of his contacts around the dates or around the prophesied or around the prophecy of Kukulkan. Now I've heard one of the stories I heard is that his supposedly Cortez's ships were seen on the day that Kukulkan was supposed to come back. That sounds kind of iffy. All right, I think that was a story that was made up later. Anyway, Cortez made sure that Lord Montezuma believed that Cortez may have been Kukulkan. And he fit the description of Kukulkan. Which Kukulkan was a white man with a mustache and I guess a beard that came across the ocean.
Ron Jeremy came across the ocean
and taught them about the calendar and the stars and how to build stone buildings, and gave them the seeds of their civilization, which sounds plausible. That story was much older than the Aztecs. It could have been that maybe some Phoenicians or ancient Greeks or something got blown off course and ended up somewhere down there in Mesoamerica. And maybe the ship had passengers on it, and one of them may have given them some information. And evidently, Kukulkan got back on the ship after he was visiting them for years and went back to his homeland and told them that he would return. And they were waiting for Kukulkan to return. It had evidently been thousands of years, but they were waiting for him to return. So, looks like Cortez fucking tried to insert himself into this legend, which I would have done that. You want to use every advantage you can. Psychology is very powerful in any kind of conflict.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, you turn up in some village full of people who were probably hostile towards you, right? You kind of maybe want to take their shit, take over the shit. So you're just kind of like, hey, like, tell me all about your legends and tell me about your gods and stuff like, oh, yeah, I'm totally down with that. And then you just kind of insert yourself.
People try to
if you know what you're doing.
People try to paint this image that the Spaniards just showed up, throwed the cock out on the fucking land and fucking pulled a gun and they owned the place. Fuck no. The first couple ships mutinied when they saw the cities. They were fucking bigger than anything in Europe.
They're like, this is better than our shit. Yeah. Fuck this.
They were all painted in red and turquoise and they had fucking an advanced society. These were huge metropolitan areas. This isn't little grass huts and shit. These were cities.
Yeah, they had big cities.
Millions of people. And you're talking about 70, 80 guys per ship with some useless fucking barking sticks is what the Indians called them. They were afraid of the barking sticks, but you couldn't do much damage. It took forever to fucking reload those things. They were matchlocks. And you couldn't fight in the rain. And powder went bad. They impressed him with some cannons. They took some cannons off and showed him some cannons.
Like, oh, those are nice. I like those.
They tried to use the magic angle, that they knew magic.
So they were at least that savvy.
Yeah. And they'd never seen horses.
Yeah, we're wizards.
They'd never seen horses and they'd never seen steel. That impressed them. But the thing is, they were vastly outnumbered. That shit wore off. They got their asses kicked in the Night of Tears. They did lose some battles. It did eventually. What really got a lot of them was fucking pandemic.
Yeah.
The Spaniards were carrying fucking the plague.
All kind of diseases.
Smallpox. You know, it wasn't on purpose. It was by accident.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just nobody on this continent had been exposed to that. That we didn't have any. You know, they didn't have any.
They started dying of something, either bubonic plague, Bobos, the plague, or smallpox. It's hard to tell what it is they're talking about, but they all started dying and they thought it was some kind of a curse of the white man, which I guess it was.
Well, yeah, technically.
Yeah.
They weren't wrong.
So they started to depopulate, and then that spread up into the Indians that got the American Indians. So before the first colonists ever got to North America, a lot of them were wiped out. There was an Indian named Squanto. He told John Smith, all about it. He'd just got to come back from England. Yeah, Indians were in England before we ever got here. He comes back and said he told Smith that his tribe had been wiped out in a big plague and that most people were already dead.
I just want to say that reminded me.
Yeah.
I read this fucking great book a few years back. What the hell was it called? I think it was called The Speckled Monster. And it was or something like that, The Speckled something or other. And it was about smallpox and how they found the vaccine for it.
Yeah.
And it was a fascinating fucking book. I wish I could remember who wrote it. I was like I said, I was really into. Man, my drink's empty.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You don't? Okay. Like I said, I'm really into history books that are about the history of things you don't normally think about the history of, if that makes any sense. I really, really like these kind of like really little niche history kind of books. So yeah, there was one, I can't remember, I think it was called The Speckled Monster, I think. I'd have to look back at my Goodreads. But it was all about how they found the vaccination for smallpox. And it was really, really good. That just like, I don't know, him saying that like just reminded me of it. But yeah, so what were we talking? Oh, yeah. Okay. So somebody said upward that they were talking about when I was talking about music and everybody thinking like the covers were the originals and vice versa, and how they said that about Johnny Cash's cover of Hurt as well. I think about that too, because Johnny Cash also covered The Mercy Seat by Nick Cave. And I always want, I guess Nick Cave isn't really like a young person's thing like Nine Inch Nails is, like, back then. But that was something that always kind of occurred to me, that like maybe they thought that, oh, Nick Cave had covered the Johnny Cash song, even though it was the other way around. I don't know. I just thought it was like really funny. So Deborah says like, hey guys, just made it in from work. Saw you guys were on. Yeah, we've been on for like 2.5 hours. So welcome. We're pretty drunk at this point. Victor said the speckled monster I just Googled. Okay, thank you. I knew it was the speckled something, and I was pretty sure that's what it was. But it was like a while back. I just checked it out of the library, and it was really, really good. As you can see, I'm super into the history of diseases. It's like, just like I said, niche histories. History of diseases, history of coffee, like, that book about salt. Like I said, one of my favorite nonfiction books that I ever read was called The Perfect Red, and it was about that dye, that red dye that they used to make from crunching up, the beetle shells. And it was a fucking fascinating book. It was just kind of all about the trade in the stuff, and it made like a lot of, you know what I mean? It was like really important to like a lot of the trade, but back in the day. And it's just like so funny that something like that people don't think about was so important at some time. And it's like, that's just, I don't know, that's just like really fascinating to me. Camp Guy says Pillars of the Earth is a great historical novel by Ken Follett. I think I've read that actually. Or at least I've read, I feel like I've read that one, but didn't he write some other ones? Like, give me some other titles, because I feel like I'm pretty sure I read that one, but I might have read some other ones as well. Victor says, I watched a documentary last night about the tulip bubble of 1637. Yeah, see, I've read a book about that too. It's kind of like, that cracks me up. I feel like we should do a show about that, because there was a thing, if you guys don't know, how back in the 90s or whenever it was, when everybody was convinced that like, for example, like Beanie Babies were going to be, and everybody was like buying every single Beanie Baby, and they thought it was going to be this big collector's item, and then the value just fucking crashed. Okay, the same thing happened back then in the 1600s in Holland with different kinds of tulips.
Did you hear me yelling?
Yeah.
Man, for some reason the ice maker isn't making ice.
What's the matter with it?
I can't figure it out.
Is the little bar thing not in the place it's supposed to be?
Down. Can't figure it out. I pulled out.
That refrigerator's not that old.
No, I pulled the refrigerator out in case the little water hose is kinked. Maybe somebody pushed it down. I don't know.
I didn't push it.
I'm pissed off now.
You pissed off because the ice maker's broken?
Yeah.
That refrigerator is seriously only a couple of years old.
Yeah, let me go look at it real quick again.
He's gonna go check on the refrigerator.
Go ahead.
Close that shit. Ice is essential. In Florida, it is. I can't drink shit without ice in it. I have done, but I don't like it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we got one of those fridges that has like the ice maker and the water thing, like in the freezer door. I don't know. It's a nice fridge. We've only had it a couple years. But every now and then it stops making ice, and I don't know why. I don't know what's the matter with it. Nothing works anymore. This lighter doesn't work. Where's my good one? Yeah, Victor said it's happening right now with crypto. I feel like it's the same kind of thing. It happens. It's eternal, and people still keep falling for it. Thank you, David. Wish I wasn't broke as fuck. Yeah, I know that feeling. But have money. I love y'all. Wow, we love you too. Xanada says, that a wig, Jenny? Yes, it is. I like that color. Thank you. Even though in real life, I'm looking at it on the camera and it is a totally different color than it is in actuality. It's actually purple, but it looks blue. I mean, that is clearly purple, right?
Yeah, no, it looks blue.
Does it?
Yeah, it's because of the lights.
Yeah, it's just the lights are making it look blue, but it's actually purple. Camp guy, I don't understand.
I gotta change my hat.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna change
It's DEFCON 3 or DEFCON 2?
Change it to changed to a Ranger Patrol cat.
DEFCON 3, 2, 1, right?
Yeah. Oh, this is my redneck hat. It's camouflage. When it gets to that level, I'm fucked up.
When you put that on, then you'll you'll disappear.
I don't know what'll happen. I don't know. I've never worn that one. That one's reserved.
Okay.
That one's reserved for bad shit.
Okay.
That's when I gotta go full redneck.
Oh. No one wants that.
No one wants that to happen. Let me get another one. Is that the last pack?
Yeah, you smoked all the other ones when we were at Mannequins the other night.
Yeah.
Okay. I bought those because I thought, he'd
get a light.
He'd like to have one every now and then. He smoked my whole pack at fucking the Halloween party the other night. Halfway to Halloween. Yeah, Xana says blue on camera. It's totally purple, though. It really is. I promise.
Yeah.
Tom should have a mullet wig for DEFCON 6 Beast Mode.
Yeah.
I mean, you do have the Michael Caine wig.
I got that over there, yeah.
You could bust that out. That's right here.
I could wear a wig and a hat at the same time.
Oh, shit. We've never seen that level.
You never know what might happen.
Don't tease me like that. Don't tease me like that. I'm so used to being let down by your teasing and then nothing happens.
Something? Okay. Yeah, I don't know why the ice maker stopped making ice. I adjusted everything. Fuck that ice maker.
Maybe
that's right.
Maybe
Tom's
it's
an
just
unpredictable man.
He is, yeah. That's true.
Okay,
Victor says, back in the 90s, my friend got... What do you want?
I need an ashtray too, you know.
Well, I put that over there because I thought Feeky was going to... Right. When she was in here, I thought she was going to jump up and knock it off.
All right.
Victor says, back in the 90s, my friend got hired at McDonald's just to answer the phone and answer questions about which Beanie Babies they had. Yeah, remember that? And like in the 80s, there was a whole thing with Cabbage Patch Kids too. Which, like I said, when I was a kid, listen to this shit. When I was a kid, my parents could not afford Cabbage Patch Kids. So my mom made me Cabbage Patch Kids. She bought the little doll head, and then she sewed the body and she sewed all the clothes and put hair on it and everything. It was awesome because she couldn't afford to buy a Cabbage Patch Kid, but it was the same kind of thing. Like, she made little adoption papers and all this shit. My mom's awesome. Damn. So you know what I mean.
So I just wanted to say that you guys, I'm gonna plug it again. Watch Elvis and Nixon. You can stream it. You can probably watch it for free on some of them services. But we're gonna be doing a review on it. We're in the next couple of days. Well, that'll probably be up next week sometime.
It'll probably be Sunday. We'll probably review it Sunday.
Yeah, I think you guys will find that an enjoyable movie. It's fun.
I mean, I liked it. Like I said, it's not super action packed or anything because it's all about that one particular event.
It's funny though, man.
I found it very, very funny.
Yeah, it's funny and it's not played up for laughs. It's actually just showing you how fucking odd these people were. And I like the fact that the dude that's playing Elvis isn't doing an Elvis impersonation. He says he tried to stay away from that.
It's Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon played Elvis in this. He also played, I'm pretty sure he played Iceman, right? He played Kuklinski in The Iceman.
I think so.
Which was also
I didn't see it.
He was also in Bug with Ashley Judd. Check that shit out. We need to review that one of these days. You would probably love that fucking movie.
But what he does is he says he just tried to put himself into Elvis's mindset and try to figure out what he's thinking.
And not try to do an impersonation. Right. Which, yeah. Camp Guy also points out there was another good movie called Frost to Nixon, which I actually also saw in the theater, but I think it was before I met you. And it was about a kind of famous... Nixon was interviewed by I think he worked for the BBC, and it was like a real famous interview that they did, and the whole movie was like about that, and that was also actually really good if you want to see that as well.
I would like to see a movie about James Brown now.
Remember we watched that documentary about him, which was really good.
I would like to see a movie about some fucking adventure that James Brown went on.
Oh my God, they've never made one of them, have they?
No.
Not that
something that happened to James Brown to give us an idea of what he was like. You know.
Victor says, he says, did y'all ever watch Take Shelter? That is still on my list. I know Michael Shannon's in that. And I need to see that as well because I keep seeing it. Like, I think it's on Netflix and I keep scrolling past it. I'm like, God damn it, I still need to watch that. And I still haven't watched it yet. But I will, I promise. It's on my list. It's on my list, I promise. I feel like my wig is falling off, is it?
No, didn't look like it.
Okay.
Looks normal to me.
Yeah,
it did kind of go back on your head a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It did.
That's what I'm saying.
Push it forward.
That's what I'm saying.
There you go. Push it forward. That's fucking funny.
I know.
That's the first time you've worn that one.
Yeah, I just got
what it is.
one.
It's heavy in the back, and you're gonna have to put safety pins or bobby pins.
There are bobby pins
up in the front to keep it from.
There are bobby pins.
Really? Okay.
But
yeah, that's what it is. Cause
obviously, it's not working. Thank you, Victor. Here, have some money. Thank you
very much, Garcia.
Thank you.
You the man.
Victor says, just watch it. Okay, I will. Yeah, did Frank Langella play Nixon in that? I feel like he did. Yeah, I saw that in the theater. That was a really good movie.
In this movie, Nixon does some funny shit too. Like, he tries to act like a badass, and then he also tries to act cool at one point. He goes, "So, Elvis, you think I could take him? You know, if I can ask him something."
Yeah, before Elvis.
What? Do you think I could take him? He goes, these.
And his advisors are kind of like,
looking at him like, "Oh shit."
No, but we can't say that. And the part where he's talking on the phone to like Julie Nixon, and she was kind of the one that, wanted him to meet Elvis because she was a big Elvis fan. And then he's like talking to her afterward, and he's like, "Yeah, I met Elvis, blah blah blah." It's like, maybe your dad's cooler than you thought. And then he's like trying to spin the gun. He's like,
he said
and he's all dorky.
He was very nice. He was very well informed. Yeah,
it's super funny.
Yeah, he's very well informed. And then fucking Elvis does karate for Nixon. Does a karate fucking demonstration.
Yeah, he does a demonstration.
Yeah. Now this all got passed. All this shit checked out. With
they recorded.
Buddies.
They recorded some of it.
So, he did that shit.
And like I said, Jerry Schilling was there, and he was the one that would produce this movie. So he's still alive. So he was like talking about it.
A bunch of Elvis magic happens where he does this over people.
It's almost like the Bela Lugosi.
It's
kind of like
that. Dismiss them and shit sometimes. Gets donuts at a black donut shop.
He got maple bars.
Got maple bars, and the fucking
they looked really good.
Black dudes tested him. And fucking but then he passed the test, so they hung out for a while. And the posse the fucking Memphis mob tried to get him out of there. Come on, man, let's go. No, we're gonna get some maple bars. And they're sitting there eating maple bars while the black woman was fucking heckling him about being a ripoff. It's fucking funny, man. But
the shit that they said. Well, because she said to him. He was like ordering some like the original something or other, and she's like, "Yeah, original my ass."
Yeah, original my ass.
And then later on, he's like, "I would like some more of these original my ass."
Yeah, original my ass maple bars. Yeah, it's fucking funny.
So then everybody in the donut shop's all right, fair enough.
Yeah,
you're all right. It's just like really, really funny. I mean, the fucking shit's funny. Like I said, it's low key funny, but it's still funny. So so we watched that last night, and then we watched what? Batman, The Dark Knight Rises.
We watched all three of them, but it took us a while.
Well, we watched the first two. I had seen the first one, Batman Begins. These are the, the one
Batman
with Christian
Begins,
Bale in them. Oh.
The Dark Knight, and then The Dark Knight Rises.
Did we freeze
1,
up?
2, and 3. No.
Did we freeze up? Okay. My shit froze
up. Her shit froze up over here.
We'll see. It might come back. We don't know.
We've been streaming for a while.
Yeah, it's 2 hours and 38 minutes, which actually that's pretty good. Like that we went that long without it fucking up.
It'll catch up. There it is. It's trying to catch up. See,
it's trying. I'm not gonna touch anything. I'm just hoping.
Yeah, you touch it and the shit locks up.
I'm just kind of hoping that it resolves itself. But yeah, we watched that, and as we were watching it, even though I think I dozed off a couple times while we were watching it, I think I realized that The Dark Knight Rises, the one with Bane, I had never sat down and watched that entire movie.
Yeah, me neither.
I remembered part of it. Like, I remembered the shit with the bomb. I remember that. I remembered some of the shit with Catwoman. I remembered some of the scenes. Yeah. But I was like, I have never actually sat down and watched this entire movie at the same time.
Yeah.
Ever.
It was okay. I
don't like it as much as the other two, though.
The first one is the best one. Batman Begins is the best one.
Yeah, that one, I've probably seen that one more than any of the other ones. These are the Christopher Nolan ones. But I don't know. I think, like I said, I was pretty tired, so I think I kind of like stacked all the pillows up because we have like a ridiculous like pillow mountain on the bed.
Yeah, it's too big. Too many pillows.
Well, I like that.
Too many stuff.
Too many stuff.
Too many stuff.
Can we say where we got that from?
Yeah, you can go ahead. That's a Chinese woman said it. I got too many stuff.
It was, you know what? We got that from, it was Hoarders.
Hoarders, yeah.
It was an episode of Hoarders.
Yeah.
And there was this tiny, tiny little Chinese woman.
Yeah.
And she had a townhouse or an apartment or something.
Yeah.
And she had a bunch of shit. Now, she was a lovely woman. And she seemed to know
that she had
a problem, which a lot of these hoarders don't.
That whole house was filled with stuff. Drove the husband out.
Yeah, everybody kind of left. And then, but that was kind of one of the things that made us laugh was that she said to the show, she's like, I have too many stuff. She said, I have too many stuff.
No, she says, I got too many stuff.
I got too many stuff.
Yeah.
So we saw that like several years ago and that just made us laugh. So now every time somebody's like has too much stuff, we always say you have too many stuff. You got too many stuff. Yeah. But you know, she knew she had too many stuff.
Now they want moon pies.
I really hope this doesn't crash. I'm gonna be really upset. My OBS is still going, but my YouTube has crashed.
Yeah. Okay.
So I can't see the chat. You can still see the chat.
Yeah.
All right. So we're just gonna keep going
keep going because it's showing that it's going.
It usually resolves itself in the end if I leave it alone. Like I said, as long as I don't touch anything, it should be okay.
Yeah.
As long as I don't touch anything, until it freezes up and then. Well, that happened during our Brimstone and Treacle show.
Yeah.
And it did actually record everything till the end, till I said goodbye, even though my shit was fucked up at this end.
All right, so what else do we have to talk about today? Do we have to talk about anything else?
Probably not.
Anybody got any more questions about the great Elvis Presley? If you have any questions, I can explain most of it. I've been fucking collecting a whole file on fucking Mr. Presley.
You have a file?
I have a whole file. It's all in my head.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm not going to put it in my chicken scratch. I write about like Elvis writes.
You do, actually.
Yeah. It's a good thing that fucking everything's on. I rarely write anymore now that you have tablets. Isn't that funny? Everything's just fucking on the keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. You try to write something and you go like, wait, hold on. How did I do it? Wait,
I forgot.
Wait. Yeah, there we go. Like a child.
I have beautiful handwriting, if I do say so myself.
I never had good handwriting. My penmanship always sucked.
Yeah, I can't even read half the shit you write.
Yeah.
Luckily, I don't have to Luckily, you don't have to write anything down for me. The only thing that I have in here that you wrote down was the Wi-Fi password.
Yeah, can you read it?
Sort of.
Sort of.
Well, I know what it is now, so it's just kind of like
my shit's all kind of depending on what mood I am. It's like spiky, Romanesque looking kind of stuff. My cursive isn't bad. It's just that I'm out of practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is, I'm a writer, and one of my things is that when I'm writing a novel, not so much nonfiction, but I'm writing a novel, I like to write everything by hand first, like in a notebook.
Yeah.
And then because then that way, when I type it, it's almost kind of like a second draft.
Yeah.
Because I can fix it, like while I'm typing it. So I don't know. I just like to do that. Not with the nonfiction, but with the fiction, I do that.
Somebody said Elvis's widow is probably they say Elvis's widow is one of the richest gals in Hollywood. Lisa Marie something. No, his widow was fucking Priscilla.
Scylla.
He called her Scylla. Yeah, Scylla. I don't think she's alive though, is she? Isn't Scylla dead?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Scylla's not dead, is she?
I don't know.
Holy crap. I don't think so.
I don't know if she lives in Graceland. I don't think she does. Because I think they gave tours through it for a while. Last I heard, and this was like late 90s, Graceland kind of looked very, very dated in the late 90s. It's all 70s interiors. And
well, they haven't updated it because
nothing updated, and it's
almost like a museum piece,
it's like
right?
A museum,
well, they want it to be the same as it was when Elvis died, I would presume.
Right. And
because why would you modernize it?
The problem is that a lot of 70s stuff wasn't built to last, and it starts to fade, and it was to decompose. A lot of it is rayons that they don't make anymore, and nylons that aren't made anymore, that really weren't built to last. And I bet you there was a lot of damn wood paneling, that old cheap wood paneling and some of that stuff. I'd have to see it. I know there were a lot of beads and shag carpet and white leather fucking sofas and shit.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
I remember those.
Yeah. It's probably pretty damn tacky by today's standards. I'd like to see it.
I don't know. Some of that stuff is kind of tacky. Some of that stuff is kind of cool, but not so much. I don't like the wood paneling. I don't like the white leather shit. I like some of those lamps, though. You know how you remember we were watching Boogie Nights?
Yeah.
And in Burt Reynolds' house, he had, like, I don't give a shit about, like, the faux stone on the walls and shit. That's tacky. But he had, like, this really cool hanging lamp, like, over the bar.
Yeah.
And my grandma had one that was kind of like that. It was, like, cylindrical. And it has, like, all these crystals, like, hanging on it. So you shine the light through it, and it makes, like, all these cool, like, light patterns and whatnot. My grandma's was bigger than that. It was green. And it was, like, I loved that fucking lamp. I think somebody else took it, like, after she died, unfortunately. But I really, really wanted it. I think my shit crashed, but is it still going? Okay.
Yeah, it's good. Victor Garcia said the Scylla's still alive.
Yeah, I thought she was. She's not that old.
Yeah. Danny Ghostface says that Elvis probably still lives in the upstairs at Graceland. Part no one around to see. No need for me to, said, they probably didn't hold up well. Now, I heard in the late 90s it wasn't holding up too well, those interiors. Like I said, 70s stuff, a lot of it was not built to last. It was kind of...
It was almost kind of like, it was just for looks.
For looks type of stuff. A lot of it was plastic.
A lot of the shit from the 70s, like, people talked about shit later on, but, like, shit from the 70s, it was all just, like, the cheapest material they could get their fucking hands on. Everything was, like, press board and fucking... Shit you get from IKEA nowadays is probably better quality than that shit back then. Because I remember. You know? We still going?
Yeah, we're still going.
My shit's crashing at this end.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck's going on. If it guys crashes, do you want to continue the stream, or do you want to end the stream if it crashes? We'll give them a heads up.
Well, what are you looking at me for? I can't. Like, my chat's gone.
No, I got it here. I'm asking you. If it crashes, do you want to end the show, or do you want to restart the stream?
Well, I mean, we've been going almost 3 hours, so I think
if it crashes, we'll just end the show.
I guess so.
Yeah. So if it crashes, people, we won't be coming back.
Plus, I feel like my wig's sliding off.
Yeah. Just a little bit of black showing there.
Well, you can't really see it on camera.
Priscilla's 75, going to be 76 this month. Okay. Not as old as I thought she was. It's like I said that Elvis died young. He was like 42, 43, something.
Yeah, he was like... Yeah. Like I said, he was a lot younger than me.
And he was a lot younger than he looked. He looked a little older. It was because of that weight. And...
drugs.
And opiates. Yeah.
Drugs.
Well... That's kind of a bad connotation, you know what I mean? They are drugs, but they weren't recreational drugs. He was addicted to things that they had prescribed him. He became physically and mentally dependent on them.
But honestly, I don't really think that's.
I don't think he realized he was a drug addict.
Well, yeah, and to me, I think that's part of the problem because I think people don't see an addiction to prescription drugs as bad as an addiction to illegal drugs, even though sometimes the prescription ones could be worse.
Yeah. Potentially,
depending on what it is. So I feel like it's funny that people make that distinction because I don't really think there's much of a distinction.
Here's the funny thing, though, about that movie, Elvis and Nixon. He goes to Nixon to become basically a drug czar, an anti-drug czar, and to fight the drug war. And he's loaded off his ass. Which that was the funniest thing of this movie to me. This is during the time when he was addicted to all that stuff.
Well, yeah. And I like the fact that the movie didn't lean too much into that.
Yeah.
They just kind of trusted you
to know that
that's what was happening, and that was where the comedy was mined from. So, so the movie kind of like lets you make your own joke at that point.
I don't think Elvis realized it though.
I don't think he did either because
he wasn't conscious.
Well, like I said, I think they made a distinction between stuff that a doctor gave you, like it was medicine, like you said, or like illegal drugs, because he was very against all these hippies and they're all smoking pot and doing LSD and all this other kind of shit. He saw that as fundamentally different to what he was doing.
Yeah, well,
even though I would argue that it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, but he wasn't really talking about. I know what he's talking. I know what he meant. He wasn't. He didn't really say it was the drugs that was the problem. He thought that the drugs were being put in there by communist agents.
Yeah, I get that.
So it wasn't so much the drugs. He thought that the drugs were being used by basically the KGB to help break America apart. That's what look, it came back.
Yeah, it does that every now and then.
Yeah. He thought it was part of a government of a Soviet government effort to ship drugs into the country and to fucking break it apart. Which I don't know if he knew about MK Ultra at that time. The KGB may have been interested in something like that, but I don't think they would have to. I think there are people, a lot of people ready to import drugs illegally into the United States through Mexico. All that money, you wouldn't need the Soviets to do that.
Well, yeah, no. Why would you?
No, you'd have players here that would do that.
Yeah.
But I think Elvis thought it was the communists.
Our government was experimenting with that shit too, like different branches of it. So.
Yeah, and then a lot of the ruling class families that have the money to run for office were involved in all that kind of stuff. So, and then they get elected, and you have elected officials and fucking around with the damn drug trade to help fuel their campaigns. What's up?
What my goodness, what?
You want to go outside? What's up?
She came up behind both of our chairs and went,
yeah. But, Elvis was seeing it in kind of simplistic terms. If it was bad for the United States, then that came from an outside force, and the Soviets must be doing it. That's what he was talking about.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Soviets were doing it. I don't think they had the power to do it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like whatever time period it is, whatever bad is happening, you always attribute it to whoever the boogeyman of the day
was. Right.
You know what I mean? It was the same up until the 80s. It was like, oh, the Russians are doing that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Even though they probably weren't doing like fucking 80% of the shit we attributed it to them. It was just kind of like they were the boogeyman of the time. So
they were doing a lot of stuff, but I don't think they had the power to do that.
That's what I mean. I don't think they had the power that people attributed it to them. Well, I think that's kind of true of every boogeyman of everything. Yeah. They don't have the power to do all the shit that you think that they can do.
No, if you go back in history and see who the leaders of the Soviet Union were, what kind of guy it was. They were stiff shirt motherfuckers themselves. They weren't the kind of people that could go down and interact with fucking Mexican drug cartels. If they existed at that time, they probably didn't. And fucking cut some deals to ship shit in and somehow disintegrate the United States, and Russia's going to spend money on this. Russia didn't have the money. Russia's solution to the United States was always just make more tanks. That's what the Russians did. Let's make some more tanks. You know what? Let's make some more tanks.
That seems like a good solution.
Yeah.
This always worked before.
Yeah, let's just make some more tanks. And that was the Russian solution to everything. Make more tanks. They had a fucking sea of tanks.
Never know when you might need them.
Might need some more tanks. Americans are going to come fuck with us. Make some more tanks. And it was all the fucking same tank over and over and over again. And, well, that was part of the problem with the Soviet Union. Even guys that that went through the collapse and were able to speak afterwards, they kind of made fun of the Soviet defense industry. When in doubt, just make some more tanks. I mean, they had so many and they didn't know what to do with them. Couldn't really have the money to fuel all these tanks and to train all these tank crews. They mostly just sat around like monuments. Make some more tanks.
They're like, we're gonna end up turning these into apartments at some point.
Well, they weren't very creative, contrary to what a lot of people think. The Soviets weren't very creative.
Well, like I said, people like to imagine that whoever the boogeyman of the day is, is a lot smarter than you, is a lot more savvy than you. They're just a dumb motherfucker like you are. It's fine.
At the end of the Soviet Union, they couldn't make the Nintendo. All right. They wanted the Nintendo Play System. They got a rip-off version of it, a bootleg copy of it from Thailand. I think it was Thailand.
I remember this story.
So, then they bootlegged all the fucking games. The copyrighted games.
Yep.
But they had to put a Soviet touch on them.
Yeah.
Which is to fuck them up. They would fuck them up every time you got killed. Skulls would appear, or just whatever. They fucked up They fucked up Luigi. You know, what was it Super Mario Brothers? They fucked all that shit up. Some of the stuff they made it so it was kind of unplayable. Now, but if you have one of those old Soviet consoles, it's evidently worth a lot of money to collectors.
Well, I imagine.
Because they were immediately thrown away. I mean, when new stuff came out, fucking well, once new shit came out, they threw them away.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I've heard that a Soviet, a commie knockoff of Nintendo is fucking worth a lot of money. I think it's Super Nintendo.
Yeah. Did we crash?
No. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did crash.
Yeah, we did.
We crashed.
Oh well. Can we still talk?
Yeah.
Is it still going? It's buffering.
I don't know. Can they hear us? Yeah. Maybe yeah. Went back. They can hear us.
Okay. Shit, man.
Yeah. You guys can't hear us, right?
You're way ahead of the shit because my shit crashed.
This bitch here is getting ready.
I know it's making me really nervous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gone on a long time, but
yeah, they're going. They said they can hear us and that we're going. It's been going on a long time, but it's
my wig back.
It's showing sign. Oh look.
Oh no. Oh, did we?
Mr. Roboto, Creep Show Christmas special every year. Yes or no? They're asking.
Should they do it every year?
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
I mean, they should do a Halloween special and a Christmas special.
Okay.
Just saying.
Well, look, people. I think this bitch is gonna crash.
Probably.
We should end the stream now.
While we're still.
We'll bow out with fucking honor. Grace and honor.
So it's not just like, oh, shit at the end.
Yeah.
Like some of our other ones.
We've been going for like 3 hours. That's almost about the limit for this fucking.
Although, like I said, I'm proud of this shit.
It's been better
that
it's recently.
Kept. It usually crashes about 50 minutes for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But it kind of wanted to, but then it kept on going.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of it. Yeah. Good job, laptop.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what's today? It's Wednesday.
They're saying you can have a homework. Today's Wednesday, yeah. Tomorrow I gotta go to the VA. Yeah,
you gotta go to the VA. You gotta go to the doctor tomorrow.
Yeah.
For his annual checkup.
Yeah.
For his 6-month checkup. But yeah, so we will be back Friday evening. The Patreon poll was tied. So we're doing 2 topics on the show that have nothing to do with one another, but it should be fun. We're doing the Anthill Kids cult.
I don't know.
And we're also doing the disappearance of Amelia Earhart.
On the same show?
On the same show.
You'll never fit it in there.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Bitch, if you don't like talk the whole time, I can fit all kind of crap in there.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Just like.
You saying I'm filling up the show?
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, I'm just saying you'd be surprised at how much shit I can fit into a small space.
I'll just sit here and drink and observe then.
He's gonna drink and observe. Yeah. Tom Ross, drink and observe. That's what he does.
Yeah.
But that's what Friday show is going to be about. And that'll be the next time that we will be on live.
It's a great chat, guys. Thank you for showing up, all our fucking regulars. And we will be with you guys
Friday night.
Friday night.
We're doing 6 p.m., right? We're not going out after. So
yeah, we do 6.
Yeah, it should be 6 p.m. Okay. All right. So thank you, everybody, for dropping by. As always, thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for all your donations and fun conversation. We will see you guys Friday night. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you later. Bye.